Good morning and welcome to a Sunday here at the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. I'm Dave Bradley. Thank you very much for joining us. Bright and early here on a Sunday as we get things underway with the qualifying session for the Legends cars here on track. And they will have their race at 4:25 later on today. So this is just a qualifying session for these vehicles. They did have one race yesterday, and it was pretty exciting. As a matter of fact, there was some carnage in that race. It started at 11:20, and a couple times the leaders, unfortunately, couldn't hang on to things. These are very difficult cars to drive. They're normally better suited for an oval track situation. They do some road course racing. But you can see there is the typical Legends car we see with the fenders. That's Danny Chisholm, but then the modified Legends is what they call them here in Quebec, and that's the rest of the field, really. And they do tend to sway a little bit more in the corners, set up very soft in order to slide through the corners. A little bit of speedy dry down as the track crew did some work to make this track ready for today's events, including the Russo Medal 60 presented by Julia Wines for the NASCAR Pinty Series. That's coming up later on this afternoon. Well, the green flag waves on this 20-minute session, a qualifying session for the modified Legends cars. And they will have their race at 4:25 today. We can tell you that number 87. When he gets by himself, Danny Chisholm is a driver out of Nova Scotia, has been doing some racing in the U.S. as well in that Legends car. He has been very, very quick, and you can see a little bit of concrete dust is down. That's the reason for the dust. So that's a couple patch jobs overnight just to make sure this track is as ready as possible for these vehicles all day. The track takes a significant amount of abuse, and the reason it does is because it has been so very, very warm here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. The weather has been absolutely perfect Friday and Saturday, albeit a little bit warm. Today, it's a muggy start. But the elevated track temperatures with so many vehicles, so little rest time, as we have one problem, a spinner. That's Sonny Leroy, and the 55 goes around. No, it's renumbered as the 65. So Marc-Andre Picard goes for a slide, turn number 1. So that's really the most difficult right-hand corner. So caution comes out as Picard unable to refire and get going in that number 65. So that'll slow the field here in the first qualifying session. I don't think anybody got a real lap of record. Danny Chisholm, a 1:21.0, and that's not as quick as some of the laps he was laying down earlier. That's just a local caution, though, so the... Do we stay green? Just checking to see if all the corner marks. No, it's a full course caution now as the timing and scoring hasn't quite caught up. With what is happening on the track, so it is a full course caution as the 65 sits crossways in a blind corner. Marc-Andre Picard off of turn number 1. He is tucked a little bit to the inside, but you can see by the black marks on the roadway, which is the track here this weekend, but you can see that is very much within the racing groove. So unable to refire, he'll need a bump start at the very least to try and get back to the pit lane. I don't believe he hit anything, which is a good news. So we'll continue under caution here in this qualifying session for the Modified Legends Tour. And a couple of the drivers we will be watching who have been very, very quick this weekend include Maxime Pelletier. The 66X was out in front. He unfortunately got turned by eventual race winner Alexandre Janot in the number 69. So they made contact going into turn number 2. Janot had a wheel on the inside. Turn 2 seems to be a pretty good place to pass. He can get a run coming off of turn 1, and you sort of stick it down on the inside. There is a wall on the inside, so there's a risk-reward situation for these drivers, especially in the open wheels. And sometimes you get forced to the inside, and Pelletier was trying to close the door, but Janot was there. Peltier went around, and Janot eventually went on to win the race. As a matter of fact, Danny Chisholm, you'll notice there's still some body damage to the back end of that typical Legends car, the one with the fenders. That fender was completely hanging off at one point yesterday as a car, which was the 69 of Janot, had climbed the back of the number 87. So Chisholm had to make a quick stop down pit lane, tear off a fender, and come back out. He eventually finished 5th, so gives you an idea how quick that car is. Jacques Villeneuve in this field, driving the number 66. Not Jacques Villeneuve, the Formula One world champion. Jacques Villeneuve, the uncle of the Formula One world champion. Champion snowmobile racer here in Canada, former Formula Atlantic competitor as well here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, lives in nearby Joliet, Quebec, and this is sort of a one-off deal for Jacques Villeneuve, but it's exciting to see the senior Jacques, brother of Gilles Villeneuve, out here still turning laps in competitive racing after being out of the car for so long. He ran into trouble in qualifying early on Friday. They got that car fixed up. He was back in the race yesterday, but managed to get, he started last with limited practice time, but managed to pass a number of cars coming home just outside the top 15, but currently tops in the time charts as one of the drivers who was able to get a lap of record in, a 120.2. Give you an idea of how they qualified on Friday. A 116.2 was the lap of record for Danny Chisholm. Alexander Janot, a 117.3. So there's still a lot of time left on the table here for these drivers to nip away at. And it looks like the cleanup has completed in turn number 1. So the green flag displayed will get things back underway now. 5 minutes complete of a 20-minute time session. So still 14 minutes to go, and that's lots of time to set a cracker of a lap. Good look at Alexandre Gauthier in the 84. He had an unfortunate situation coming to a rest up against the tire wall in turn number 6. So this is coming into turn number 6. You can see there's some significant bumps right under braking. So as the drivers start to hit the brakes, and that's the result of what can happen. I believe that is turn number 3. So the 03 has nosed it in up against the tire wall in that area. Peter Robitaille. That's a difficult corner. It really is. So it's the iconic turn here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières as you go through the Duplessis gates. That's the beautiful structure here. You'll see it in a lot of pictures and a lot of video as a recap of the weekend's events. But for the drivers, it is very challenging, mainly because it's downhill. The braking zone is completely downhill, and it's a fairly steep hill too. And then it's such a sharp left-hand turn with very little room for error. So not only do you not have a runoff area, but you also don't have a lot of room to go side by side through that area in turn number 3. This is it. You can see how tight it is. You really have to come very close to the inside wall on that corner, and then you have to go close to the outside wall as well to try and keep your speed as you come down this back straightaway. So it's not a complete straight. There's a few kinks and turns, all left-handers, so they do count them as several different turns. So 4, 5, and then now you get into turn number 6. You can see there's a little bit more runoff area there as the drivers signal to each other. You can see Alexandre Janot sticking his hand out, indicating to Alexandre Gauthier in behind. Usually the drivers will do that to indicate if they want them to go through on the inside, outside, if you're going to give them room. There's obviously no flashers on these cars. They do have mirrors. Some of them do. Not all of them have mirrors. You can see the mirror set up, and there's An aborted attempt for the driver of the 84 Gauthier, and now he'll duck back into line. This is only qualifying. And that really hurt the lap times by both those drivers. As Jacques Villeneuve Sr., the top of the charts, and as I say that, the number 40 of Benoit Landry goes quickest. Problems for the 04. He is stopped. Dominic Thibault, I didn't get a good look at where that car was, but we continue under green. Landry is your new pace setter. Oh, it's down the back straightaway, so there is an opening, a runoff area. So a heads-up move for the driver of the 04, Thibault, to make it to that runoff area. You can see the emergency crews will grab hold of that car and pull him to the inside to avoid a full course caution with 10 minutes left to go. Jacques Villeneuve Sr. now goes quickest to 1:18.6. So it looks like Villeneuve has found his comfortability level in these unique little race cars powered by a motorcycle engine. That's why you can hear the high scream. Sounds like superbikes racing around this 2.5 kilometer track. 11 turns, that is Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Now Danny Chisholm chips away at that lead, and into the top spot goes the 87 and 1:18.60. So about 8/100ths of a second quicker than Jacques Villeneuve Sr. in the 66. Chisholm in the 87 has been very, very quick all weekend long. Remember, he was one of the drivers that, the only one in the field, as a matter of fact, to make it into the 1:16 realm. Which is actually a little bit quicker than the NASCAR Pinty Series cars. They're able to maneuver this track. Problem in turn number 8. That is the 66, Jacques Villeneuve Sr., who goes around. And did he catch that tire wall? That is the big question. Or the concrete wall, even worse. Sailing it off, and that car does a double tank slapper, goes around, and he did actually. He caught what appears to be the concrete wall, so that'll be the second trip to the wall this weekend for the driver, the 66. This time, though, it looks like it hit a bumper rather than the right front corner. That happened on Friday. But even better news for the rest of the field is Jacques Villeneuve is able to drive away. So currently, Danny Chisholm leads a 1:17.1. His best time. That is considerably faster than Jacques Villeneuve Sr. in the 1:18.6. So about a second and a half quicker, as a matter of fact. Then it's Benoit Landry in the 40, Frederic Ladisser in the 52, Alexandre Gauthier in the... And Gauthier now gets bumped back to 6th spot as Yannick Thibault in the 73. Another driver who's been quick all weekend long. Thibault goes up to 3rd quickest as the times continue to fall. There's a good look at the 73 as he works his way through turn number 2 in the Duplessis gates. There's Jacques Villeneuve hopping out of the car, a little bit stiff and sore. That'll be a tough hit on the back end of that one. There's not much padding, just a bumper, and it looks like he's just pointing to the bumper as a area that might need to be fixed. You don't forget that you can be out of the car for a while, but you don't forget how to do things. That's the beauty of a race car. It is very much like riding a bike. You may not have the reflexes that he once has, but he still has the racing smarts. And Jacques Villeneuve displaying that here today. Going 2nd quickest in practice. Unfortunately, a mishap in turn number 8, so they'll hope to get that fixed up. You can see Villeneuve getting his helmet off, so it looks like his qualifying session is done with about 7 minutes left to go. He'll take that lap record that's on the charts right now and keep it. Yeah, so it looks like it's just all bumper damage. Possibly those horns, the bumper horns, where it attaches to the back, but that does not affect or should not affect the rear end geometry of that race car. It's sort of a built-in crush zone. but it looks like he backed it straight into the concrete wall, avoiding the tire wall, unfortunately, after doing a slide one way and a correct the other way, and trying to gather it back up, and it went around on him in turn number 8. Danny Chisholm continues to be your fast qualifiers. It sits right now. There is a good look at the number 87 driver out of Nova Scotia. Young driver, has been doing some running in the U.S. as well, a champion of the Pro-Am division in Nashville, second place in Charlotte, racing in the Pro-Am division. So a frequent flyer, and he has been flying all weekend here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Interestingly, though, he has yet to visit Victory Lane after one event. That win went to Alexandre Janot, who is currently 4th quickest on the track right now, as Chisholm goes even quicker still, a 1:16.9, his quickest time. That was his last lap by. And it looks like he might be slowing down. You hand out the window, so he might be indicating to the drivers behind that he's going to whoa up on this one and head to pit lane. So it might be that he has completed his qualifying session. There he is as he makes his way. You can see the back hatch. And a lot of tape went on the bodywork of that number 87 after the incident in race number 1 yesterday, but not affecting the performance, as these cars are fairly robust and fairly solid, especially in the back end. So they replaced the back bumper, tape back on the fender, and that car is still as quick as it once was. A 1:16.9 for Danny Chisholm is top so far. Jacques Villeneuve, Yannick Thibault, Alexandre Gauthier, Jesse Lambert in the 64 is 5th quickest. Alexandre Janot in the 69, 6th. Benoit Landry, Frederic Ladisser, Maxime Prudhomme, and then Eric Boisclair. That is your top 10 as it sits right now. Driver who had the incident causing the caution early in the session, the 55, Sonny Roy, has come back 11th on the time sheets, I should say. So good look at just how much movement is in these race cars as they swing from side to side. Look at the front end stick to the ground as the drivers hop on the brakes. They try to get those front tires to stick and dig into the racetrack. And then you get hard on the gas and you try and move that mass of the car. So essentially you're moving the car's weight from the front tires to the back tires as you go from gas to brake. So brake, you want it all on the front, and problems there again for the 03 as Peter Robitaille had an incident with the tire wall, and this one looks to be a lot worse as the right front tire is pointed in the wrong direction. So this will probably do it for this qualifying session with 3.5 minutes left to go. But there is your current pole sitter, Danny Chisholm. With a 1:16.92. And now 1:17.92 for Yannick Thibault in the 73. So he goes to second quickest. Alexandre Gauthier in the 84 getting his quick time in just under the wire as he bumps Villeneuve down to 4th spot. Landry and Lambert 5th and 6th as the checkered flag does wave. So this will do it for the qualifying session for the Legends cars here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Good look at the youngster, Danny Chisholm, sitting on the pit wall. He's happy with his qualifying session, happy with the way the car is working as he watches the rest of the cars come through and complete their time session. But we are done, and Danny Chisholm will be your pole sitter for this afternoon's race. In the 87, Yannick Thibault in the 73. Then it's Alexandre Gauthier, Jacques Villeneuve, Benoit Landry, Jesse Lambert, Alexandre Janot, Frederic Ladisser, Maxime Prudhomme, Eric Boisclair. That's your top 10. Then Félix-André Como in the 62, Sonny Roy, Frederic Robitaille, Gabriel Janot in the 49. And then Maxime Tardif in the 66 QC, Alexandre Pichet in the 46, Hugo Paquet in the 13, Johnny Lambert in the 48, and Dominic Thibault in the 04 had issues down the back straightaway. Peter Robitaille also had some problems a couple of times. In the 03, Maxime Pelletier, who was quick, is quicker earlier this weekend, 5 laps in, and must be some issues on that car. 1:26.9, the best time that he could lay down. And Marc-Andre Picard in the 65, unable to set a time after spinning early on. And then unable to refire, so he did not set a time, so that'll mean the 65 will start shotgun on the field as we go green about 4:25, and I say about because we could be delayed with that start depending on how the NASCAR Pinty Series goes. But here is your top 10 qualifiers, and you can see just a super fast lap from Danny Chisholm in the 1:16.9s, a full second quicker than Yannick Thibault, and Alexander Gauthier in the 1:18. So just 2 drivers able to eclipse that 1:18 plateau here in the Legends Series. And that does it for the first bit of on-track action. So we got a qualifying session out of the way, and now we're going to get into the first races that count. Next up will be the Formula 1600s and their third race of the weekend, and these cars have been putting on a show every time they get on track. The Britain West Motorsports team swept the podium yesterday in race number 2. We'll see what happens here today, but it'll be exciting. We can guarantee you. Thanks very much for waking up with us here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières on a Sunday to cap off a wonderful weekend of motorsport. I'm Dave Bradley, and we'll be back at 9:35, so about 10 minutes we'll be back with the Formula 1600s. Good morning and welcome back to the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières. I'm Dave Bradley. As we get set, you can see the field of cars ready here for the Formula 1600 Tour. And their final race of the weekend, they've already had two races. This will be the third. And all have been very, very exciting, including a 1-2 finish, actually a 1-2-3 finish for the Britain West Motorsports team. Just 1 day ago, Connor Klubine set fast time in that race, so as a result, he will start on pole alongside his teammate, Jake Cowden. Marc-Antoine Cardin actually led in the early going. He got swallowed up by the Britain West Motorsport train, but then pulled off in turn number 2, so problems on that number 10, but he'll still start third. Let's head down trackside for the words to start your engines.
Accueillons un jeune bénévole de 12 ans, Georges-Alexandre Frenette-Nazaire.
Pilote, lancez-vous vos moteurs.
Done in French only here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, but that's the cue for the drivers to fire up here on the front straight away, and they will. So the Formula 1600 Tour, generally powered by 4-cylinder, mostly Honda engines. The front of the field, so there's a Pro and a Pro-Am designation. The Pro-Am cars are the ones that are powered by the Kent engines, which are based on a Ford block. The rest of the field, the Pro field, so you can see the drivers at the head of the pack, really down to the 9th spot, are all in the Pro division. So they're all the Honda-powered cars, so a little bit newer engine package, a little bit more higher tech, and as a result, higher speeds, but of course comes with increased costs as well. So if you're looking to jump from karting, for example, into the Formula 1600 Tour, the Pro-Am division is one of the first steps that you would make to get in on an affordable level, and then of course you can climb the ladder into the Pro division from there. As we welcome Todd Lewis to the announce booth. Todd, welcome to a Sunday morning here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, and the first race of record for a Sunday morning as the field rolls off here in the Formula 1600 Tour.
Hoping that we have the same kind of action that we have had throughout the weekend in the F1600. Connor Klubine, Jake Cowden, Marc-Antoine Cardin, Callum Baxter, Jacob Moreau-Sandbaker, those among the names that we have been calling over the last couple of days because of their dramatic at times, bold at times, dare I say aggressive at times, maneuvers to try to gain positions. But that's what makes this F1600 series so much fun. They're open wheel racers, but without the aerodynamics, no wings, front or back. It is about the drivers and what they can accomplish in those cars in a 30-minute race.
And it's a mixture of young drivers and veteran drivers. Didier Schranen has been driving a Formula 1600 car really since the turn of the century. You could joke, no, he's one of the...
Which century?
Yeah, he's one of the veteran drivers. As you can see, the nose, somebody forgot to button up the nose cone on the 27 or the 97 of Mario Dufour. So he'll have to probably make a quick stop down pit lane, so that'll affect his start. Hopefully it does not fall off before we go to green, and we'll have to extend this warm-up period. But, yeah, some of the drivers at the front of the field, Connor Klubine, Jake Cowden, Callum Baxter, they're all young and hungry for wins, and it shows on the racetrack, but very disciplined, too, as we saw some great disciplined racing amongst the 6 and 66 yesterday.
Absolutely did. The teammates were very respectful of one another. Doesn't mean that they weren't aggressive and looking to either gain or hold a position depending on where they were in the field at any particular moment, but it doesn't look like that nose cone is going to stay on until we get around.
Did I just see him trying to reach out and grab it?
Yes.
That would be awesome if he did, because then we could actually get a start. He's going to come around very shortly, Mario Dufour. He might have pulled off, as a matter of fact, but the field is lined up 2 by 2 as they work through turn number 9. So the indication is that we will be going green this time past the flag stand. There's no call yet that this has been waved off, as the Yellow flag is not displayed, so it looks like we're going to go green here. A 30-minute time session for the Formula 1600 Tour. Connor Klubine and Jake Cowden will lead him into turn number 1. And look at Sam Baker in the 51 dive to the outside already.
Jumped way to the outside, hoping to gain some spots heading into corner number 1. Looks like the field is getting through. Still 3 wide, now narrowing down just a little bit through corner number 2. And it looks like the 2 Britain West teammates are lined up nose to tail again.
Sam Baker goes from 5th to 3rd in a set of corners. Marc-Antoine Cardin in the 10. That's the one with the gold nose. He's dropped back from 3rd to 5th. So you would think the inside lane would be an advantage in turn number 1. It's not necessarily the case.
As you come through corner number 2, we have seen drivers who will drift wide in corner number 2. That creates the opportunity up the inside to gain positions before you get to the arch.
In yesterday's race, turn number 6 is where we saw the 51 of Sam Baker with a very brave and bold maneuver to the inside. He went to go past one car and ended up locking up the front tires and passing 2, as there's that nose cone gets obliterated in turn number 8. So no caution yet as it gets knocked off into the runoff area, which is good news, but unfortunate for the leader who hit that. I think it was Connor Klubine.
Yeah, that could be something to watch on that right front as he came through there. Hopefully it just kicked it off to the side, maybe scattered a little bit of debris, but hopefully isn't going to be a problem going forward. That 51 of Sam Baker is looking all over the back of the 66 of Jake Cowden now, trying to get another position before we go too deep into this race.
Now at 51, we've seen some speed, but it hasn't been consistent speed. So he'll show flashes of brilliance. Another young, hungry driver here in the Formula 1600 Tour, but he hasn't been able to maintain that consistent pace as the drivers ahead of him. The Cowdens, the Klubines, even the Cardin, who is now back to 5th spot. But man, he's got some raw speed, and if he can sort of harness that, I think he'll be able to finish on the podium here today.
And that's what this series is all about. It is a training and proving ground for driver talent, a way to hone your skills, develop your racecraft, and I think he's also learned from the last couple of days in understanding that 6 and 66 being out in front is definitely not the best of circumstances for him. So I think he was being a little aggressive early, trying to maybe pick up another spot, but now he's feeling the heat from that 65 car of Callum Baxter from behind.
We watched the 6 and 66 in reverse order yesterday. So it was the 66 of Cowden leading Connor Klubine for nearly the entire race distance, as they actually had to track down the 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin. But there is Klubine hitting that nose cone, the fairing. It's just fiberglass, which is great news. So no real sharp pieces, but there is a risk of cutting down a tire.
And you certainly don't want to be running wide in that corner anymore now. That piece of fiberglass is still sitting just beyond the rumble strips, and there, if someone gets in the way, and looks like Marc-Antoine Cardin is now making it 3 wide.
And he'll have it going into turn number 6. So it gets there before the braking zone, the 65 of Callum Baxter, as Sam Baker smartly backed out well in advance of reaching that braking zone. He knew forcing the issue would end in disaster.
We saw the 6 and the 66 yesterday have a pretty good battle for the second half of the race, and looks like they have picked up only in reverse order. As you mentioned, it is Connor Klubine that is leading Jake Cowden right now.
Keep an eye on that gold nose cone of the 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin. Sure, he started in 3rd spot here today, but he did have quickest time in qualifying earlier this weekend, so there is speed in that car. And he showed it yesterday as he opened up about a 2-second gap before these 2 Britain West Motorsports cars linked up as they did right now. It was Connor Klubine looking at the gearbox of the 66 of Jake Cowden. But this time it's Cowden doing that. And look at Cardin is right there. So it's a 3-car battle at the front of the field.
Just turned the quickest lap, Marc-Antoine Cardin with a 1:13.3 flat. And now it is a 3-car dice as they're headed towards corner number 6. Nobody making any aggressive moves here. It's just kind of sussing out what's going on and looking for the opportunity. We're just 4.5 minutes into this race, so now things will start to settle a bit and look for the opportunities. Where is your car better than your opponent? Where's the opportunity going to be to gain positions?
And what I love about the Formula 1600 series, it's not a set it and forget it series. This is not the way that it's going to end. The races are long enough that you have comers and goers. So if you abuse your tires or your equipment too early, then it's not going to be there at the end of the race. So somebody who might have saved something towards the start of the race will end up coming back through the field if they're not too far back by the end, and it creates a dynamic situation. And very unique here in the Formula 1600 Tour as Cowden has to go on the defensive. Cardin is all over the back of that number 66.
Good battle for second and third right now, with the 6 and the 66 in the fourth place car of Callum Baxter also starting to close up.
Sam Baker losing touch just a little bit in that number 51. You see Didier Schranen, Jacob Moreau, Connor Wagland, all still within touch. The top 8 have broken away from the rest of the field. Michel Bonnet in the 64 running in 9th position. We can tell you Henderson Knox in the 48 leading the Pro-Am group ahead of Duncan Murdoch and Martin Brousseau. You will likely see those cars come through as the leaders catch the lap traffic, but that won't be for quite some time. Still 25 minutes remain. And it looks like somebody got into that debris once again. Was it Klubine?
Klubine hit it for a second time, didn't get it far enough off the racetrack, I guess, the first time, so felt he'd move it over a little bit. Looked like he hit it fairly square, but that's not something that you want to make a habit of going through corner number 8, and it is a 4-car fight now at the front of the field with Connor Klubine, Jake Cowden, Marc-Antoine Cardin, and Callum Baxter, who just turned a 1:12.3 new quick time, all in the fight.
There you see Mario Dufour in the 97 in pit lane. That is where that piece of fairing came off in the pace lap. So he's decided to call it a day in the 97, pulls it down pit lane. The steering wheel is off. But yeah, there's battles, the top 4, and then you look a little bit deeper back and there's a 3-car battle as well. But this one at the front, Cowden takes a peek in turn number 6. He'll back off and follow the 6th, his teammate Connor Klubine, through.
This is what happens too. If 2 cars, 2 racers get battling, that allows opportunities for others to close the gap. If there is one, it creates a little friction and a little excitement, and now it's almost like they're trying to split into two-car battles, and then they close up again.
Connor Klubine taking a very different line compared to the 66 of Cowden, trying to ease that car out, and he does abuse that curb in turn number 11. Some of the other drivers behind him did the same this time, but you can see those cars aren't very happy over some of the bigger curbs here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
No, not an overly sophisticated suspension package on these 1600 cars, and we saw yesterday it was Connor Klubine who, for pretty much the second half of the race, was trying to find a new line.
Oh, he caught the wall! On the exit of turn number 3, he brushed the wall or got very, very close to it. Your race leader, Klubine.
Still in front, but now not for long. It looks like the 66 is going to make the move up the inside. And is the Mark 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin going to follow? Yes, so he slips all the way back to 3rd spot.
The 6 car had a big wiggle in turn number 6 under braking. So looking to that right rear tire where he may have caught the wall on corner exit in turn number 3. Did he cut down that tire is the big question. It seems to be holding air right now, but is it straight? Likely bent some suspension pieces.
Feeling the heat from behind as well from that 65 car of Callum Baxter now as he tries to gather it back up and refocus on the 2 cars ahead of him. Connor Klubine is the new leader. Jake Cowden is the new leader. Marc-Antoine Cardin is second, and Connor Klubine has slid back to 3rd. Callum Baxter 4th. Didier Schranen has got by Sam Baker to move up into the top 5.
Yeah, look at Baxter now. He's all over the back of his Britain West Motorsports teammate. We got big problems, and that is the 27 of Jacob Moreau. He was in 8th spot, and a driver who's had a weekend to forget is the 27 of Moreau. He's had incidents on Friday night, incidents on Saturday, and now into the tire wall here on Sunday. That car just went straight, which is weird. Something must have gone amiss.
Locked up the brakes and just couldn't get it woed down. We saw the corner worker quickly out there to check on Jacob Moreau, gave the thumbs up. He is okay, but that car is going to have to be removed, and that means we're going to go to a full course yellow.
Yeah, there's a lot of runoff area in turn number 1. It's really the most difficult right-hander on this circuit. There's only 2 right-hand turns, and you can see there's nothing bent, but it's odd to see a car go that straight into that turn without the driver trying to fight it through the corner because he carried a lot of speed into the tire wall.
He did have an awful lot of speed, but had the brakes on, just could not get the car slowed down. So maybe lost a little bit of brake pressure and was doing his best to lock things down. It just slid into the tire wall. It seems to be okay, and they're thinking about trying to push him back, get him out of the way. I don't know if he can get that car refired or not.
You can see the white wall on the right rear tire of that car as well, the 27. So it looks like he may have caught the outside wall either in turn number 3, 6, or 11. Those are pretty much the only areas where the drivers would get close to the walls on the right rear corner. And that may have played a role in that incident for Jacob Moreau as he drops down the running order, currently marked in 13th position.
It's been an adventurous weekend for the 27 car of Jacob Moreau. As you mentioned, he has made some very brilliant moves out on track to gain positions and climb his way through the field, but he's also had some frustrations. And again, this is the learning process about this series. Drivers will move up from karting or other disciplines, and this is the first step without sophisticated aerodynamics and aerodynamics on the car to really start to learn open wheel racing and racecraft. So sometimes it's a disappointing end to the day, but it looks like the 27 did get rolling, so we'll see what he can muster through the rest of this just under 19 minutes remaining.
Yeah, he appears to be tagged onto the tail of the field at this point, and they do call the Formula 1600 really the first step in the ladder series. The next step is the Formula 2000, where they get into the wings and slicks. These cars, they still have treaded tires, and if you look at the contact patch of these tires, relatively small wheels, small tires on these cars. So it's difficult to go from karting, where you have a fairly, I mean, the tires are smaller on karting, but they're wide, and you have a pretty decent contact patch. With these ones, you're carrying more speed, and you have less contact patch. So it's sort of a difficult feel, but it really does teach racecraft, and it does teach how do you control the car, threshold braking, threshold acceleration.
And that's the objective of the exercise, learning car control, understanding that, yes, it's great that you can pick up speed, and then you have to remember that you have to slow the car down, maintain your line, and get through a corner, whether it's just to exit the corner smoothly or ideally during a race to make a pass.
And we can tell you saw the 48 Henderson Knox go through your screen, the leader in the Pro-Am division. Duncan Murdoch, Martin Brousseau is the top 3 in the Pro-Am division, as there it is, the 27. So Moreau is still marked as 1 lap down to the race leader. So I believe that is what is official, because time continues to tick off during caution period. So the time that he spent stuffed in the tire wall in turn number 1, unfortunately for Moreau, will count against him as far as a lap count goes.
Looks like the safety crew is also taking the opportunity to get that little piece of fiberglass from the 97 car out of the way as well. Since we're down into full course yellow, let's take the chance and clean that up so it doesn't cause any further issues.
So an opportunity for these drivers to catch their breath on a very warm Sunday morning here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. The sun is out right now. It may not be all day. I mean, we've been watching weather apps and weather broadcasts and checking a whole bunch of different sources to find out exactly what Mother Nature has in store for us here this weekend. It was looking bleak earlier this weekend for Sunday. However, it looks like the weather situation has improved a little bit. We still could see some rain in time for the NASCAR Pinty's Series race later on this afternoon, but it's now a could see some rain. It's not a will see some rain.
There is no guarantee either way. We will have to hang around and find out. But regardless, looking forward to a terrific race in the NASCAR Pinty Series, but a lot of action to get to between now and then with this and 2 other races to come before lunchtime, and then the NASCAR Pinty Series just after 2 o'clock. They'll go green this afternoon.
Yeah, right. Coming up next, as a matter of fact, 10:35, we'll have the Super Production Challenge and their final race of the weekend. And that is an interesting series of sports cars and production-based cars on track all at the same time, 3 different classes, and they have a slew of cars, about 40 of them, and they all have a standing start as well, which is super fun to watch here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. So the pace car pulls in. Looks like we're set to go back to green with 15 and a half minutes left here in the Formula 1600 Tour With Jake Cowden, your leader, Marc-Antoine Cardin, Connor Klubine rounds out the top three as we go back to green.
Cardin is looking a little bit up the inside as they make their way through corner number one, and now starting to hound the back of that 66 car of Jake Cowden as they head towards corner number three.
Didier Schreinen playing a little defense. He saw the 94 duck out in turn number three. He wasn't close enough to make a move for fourth position, so obviously just saw the mirror filled with the 51 of Sam Baker. Baker unfortunately didn't get a great start that time and slid back one position as, was that Cardin who locked up in turn number 6, trying to get close to the back of the 66 of Cowden.
Got a good run down that long back stretch, locked it up briefly, but then got off the brakes to let that car start, or that tire start rolling again, and has maintained a close proximity to the leader.
Cardin has shown flashes of speed, but has yet to win so far this weekend in 2 tries. Here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, the driver from Sorel, Quebec, would love to win in his home province in a track with a prestige and an event with a prestige level as the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. This is a race that Quebecers love and they circle on their race calendars.
So many great names have had success here. So many great names have gotten their start and kicked their racing career into gear at this wonderful facility. That's the prestige of better than 50 years as we watch the battle continue to wage up front between the 66 of Jake Cowden trying to hold off the 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin.
Those leaders continue to flirt with that exit wall on turn number 3 as Cardin jumps to the outside. Cowden playing defense here. Will the crossover happen? Cardin's going to try and carry more momentum in. This is a good opportunity down 7. No, he's going to duck back in, try and catch the draft into turn 7, and then turn 8 will be another passing opportunity, but Cowden moves to the inside once again. Cardin is there, but hard on the brakes. Cowden goes wide. 9 is an opportunity for the 10 car, but Cowden's going to close the door. Cardin gets up alongside, lots of room. Good gentleman racing there here in the Formula 1600 Tour. As Cardin saw the opportunity, Cowden made one small error, and it cost him the lead.
New leader as they cross the start-finish line. The 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin takes over from Jake Cowden, Connor Klubine, Callum Baxter, Didier Schreinen are the top 5, and what a nice move. This is the objective. Get in the mirrors of your opponent, distract him, force him into a mistake. That's what happened to Jake Cowden. Marc-Antoine Cardin took advantage.
This is fantastic racing. I mean, 7 cars in this lead battle with Connor Wagland in that green. 1, 2, 3 is tailing on to this lead group, so anybody has an opportunity. Cowden's going to try and take it here in turn number 6. Good, solid braking maneuver contact with the nose cone of the 10 as Cardin thought he would be clear, and it almost wasn't clear enough.
I believe the expression is by a nose. That's exactly what happened there with Jake Cowden, who retook the lead going into that same corner that he lost it a lap later. But the fight continues up at the front. First 4 cars, and then Didier Schreinen also trying to hang on, and then 2 more right after with Sam Baker and Connor Wagland all up near the front, all looking for opportunity.
Be about 11 minutes to go when they cross the stripe, this time by as Jake Cowden retakes the lead over Marc-Antoine Cardin. Cardin took a look in turn number 1, but what the driver of the 10 has to do now is watch his mirrors as well, because Connor Klubine has mounted a charge in the 6. He's right there. So if you duck out at the wrong spot, you could risk losing second.
Great action up at the front of this Formula 1600 field. First 4 cars, a very small gap, and then the next 3 cars all battling for position. 11 minutes remaining. How they are running right now, I would say, is very unlikely how they will finish.
Judging by how they are jockeying for position on the track and sizing each other up, I think that's a very good observation that this one is going to go down to the wire for sure. Cowden has opened up just a slight gap now on the 10 to Marc-Antoine Cardin.
Even just that slightest gap gives you a little bit of breathing. You can focus a little bit less on those mirrors and focus a little more forward, making sure that you're hitting that braking point properly, making sure that you're hitting the apex of the corner exactly the way you want it. You're not having to run a specifically defensive line, but more trying to optimize your lap time.
Connor Klubine, after making contact with the outside wall on the exit of turn number 3, that's what cost him the lead. to his teammate, Jake Cowden, and second place to Marc-Antoine Cardin. That car seems to have settled down, so if it was bent a little bit in that right rear corner, it appears as though Connor Klubine has adjusted his driving style to continue here on the final podium position in third spot with his teammate. Callum Baxter is having a great run, and that's Henderson Knox in the 48. That was the leader in the Pro-Am division, finds himself in the tire wall in turn number 1.
Wait and see if he's going to be able to extricate himself from that, or whether he's going to be forced into another full course yellow situation. But right now, those two up front are still waging the battle. Jake Cowden with the best time of the day, a 1:12.2, holding off Marc-Antoine Cardin for the moment. And then just behind that, the third place car of Connor Klubine and Callum Baxter.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, what a move for the inside.
Turn number 9, and it didn't appear as though the 66 made an error, but Cardin just decided this was his moment, and he dove to the inside, surprising everybody as a full course caution is called. So was the yellow out in turn number 9 is the big question. And will Cardin have to give that position back? Or no, it's just a local caution. You see the green. See, we're seeing on our timing and scoring, it is a full course caution, but I don't see any other yellows. So that appears to be a local caution shown at the start-finish line. So race is still on, and we are still green.
It's just a caution through that area where no passing is permitted with the car that is stuck on track. And the 66, having a little peek to the inside, thinks better of it this time as they head towards corner number 6, and they remain 1-2, Cardin followed by Cowden.
So that means our theory that if that pass was made under a local caution, it would not stick. It was not a local caution, as a 23 of Charles Courtois goes off in the runoff area. I believe that is turn number 6. Look at Cowden taking a look in turn number 8. That's where he lost the lead in 9, and look at how much quicker Cardin is through that section, just off of turn 8, carrying the speed into turn number 9.
This is what he's noticed and picked up during the first 20 minutes or so of this race, understanding that was the opportunity for him to take advantage. And now we have another car that is stuck into the wall.
Yeah, this one will likely cause, as Duncan Murdoch's going to hop out, so he's hit the wall. And we're looking in turn number 8, so it's going to go back across to the inside as Murdoch loses it, tries to catch up to the back end. Hard on the brakes, but there's concrete there, and that's going to bend up the front end, knock off the nose cone. So this will require, there's the double held flags at the flag stand, so that indicates a full course caution as Murdoch's going to hop out. He was the leader in the Pro-Am class when he found trouble.
Goodness, what a lot of action that we've had in this middle section. So we'll remove the 22 car of Duncan Murdoch. We'll get the rest of the course all cleared up. And then I'm thinking it's a couple of minutes and a quick dash for a few laps to the checkered flag. And if things play out as our last restart did, we should have plenty of action to close this one out.
I think we probably will. Murdoch found some trouble in the first race of the weekend on Friday, but there you can see the bent up suspension pieces and the dislodged nose cone on the number 22 as Murdoch is out and okay. A relatively soft hit on that outside wall. We saw a hit on Friday night, the 20 car of Mike Franza came into the wall in turn number 7, I believe it was, which is normally just a high-speed kink. And for some reason, that car just took a left-hand turn and went into the wall and absolutely was destroyed on Friday night. So Mike Franze unable to make the call here Sunday. Did not make the call on Saturday as well.
That was a serious wallop of that car. We were amazed at the amount of damage that was incurred. The suspension was broken, but in the back half of the car almost broke away from the tub, which gives you an indication of how hard that hit was, and understandable they would not be able to get it repaired to get back out in action. But still plenty of action with the 16 cars that have been out in the field this morning here at Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières with the Formula 1600 series, as the crew is going to work to remove that 22. And the safety car has picked up the rest of the field. They will continue to circulate for a couple of moments and hopefully a pretty quick fix. We'll get that car hooked up and then out of the way. And about 5.5 minutes remaining in our timed event. So that should leave us a good amount of time for a quick dash to the finish.
Yeah, beauty about these Formula 1600 cars is that the overall weight is relatively low. They have a small 4-cylinder in the back end, so the tow truck can just essentially grab that roll hoop, lift it up, and off the track it goes. So you can see Duncan Murdoch going to make sure that all the parts and pieces are where they should be as the cleanup crew assesses the issue, and we'll try and get this car off the track as quickly as possible. We're under 5 minutes remaining here in the Formula 1600 Tour race on a jam-packed Sunday here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. The fans have been filing in since the gates opened at 8 o'clock this morning. It's a warm one, but everybody came well prepared. Lots of sunscreen, lots of water too.
The excitement level is back for this event as well. We were here last year. It returned after an absence, and it was wonderful. But the capacity was limited, of course, as we were still proceeding through the pandemic. But this year, it is full capacity, and sales have been sensational for grandstand seats, for suites, for general admission. Expecting a tremendous crowd here for the feature event of the NASCAR Pinty Series this afternoon. And as you can see, crowd has already started to swell this morning because they want to see a great day of racing, and that's what they're going to see.
And even last night, we were in town, stayed at a hotel right downtown in Trois-Rivières, and you had that feeling, the pre-pandemic feeling of the street party and the way this city embraces this festival. It's not just a race for the city of Trois-Rivières. This is an event. It is a monumental spot on the calendar that everybody circles. Whether or not you're coming to the race, it doesn't matter. You're walking around, you're going to the restaurants, you're seeing the amazing fireworks display on a Saturday night. And yeah, it's just, the city is buzzing, and it's a great, great feeling to see.
The teams have missed it too, talking with different members of teams from the many series that are here this weekend. It's just, yeah, we can't wait to get back. We're excited to get back to the event the way we remember it, because it does have such a significant place in history and has launched the careers of so many great stories, and so many great talented drivers and teams have participated here. It's nice to be back again.
Yeah, one of the drivers at the careers launched here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, of course, notably Gilles Villeneuve, who went on to race in Formula One, and of course Jacques Villeneuve, his son, and the rest is history.
And the sons are here too, of course, with Jacques Villeneuve. Jacques Villeneuve Sr., of course, was racing this weekend as well. And James Hunt, who was also instrumental in launching the career of Gilles Villeneuve. His son Freddie Hunt is here racing this weekend as well. So there's a lot of great historical ties.
Yeah, there is. And we'll see Freddie Hunt racing in the Nissan Sentra Cup coming up at 11:35. He's been quietly inside the top 10 all weekend long, and for a car that he's not really familiar with. I mean, it's a low horsepower momentum car. He's normally drives an LMP3 in Europe. So it's a difficult car to get your head around. We've heard drivers say, you know, it's sort of flat out all the time, and it's not. Former drivers are saying, well, it's so hard because you have to keep up your momentum all the time. So to just jump in the car for one event, learn a track, and learn the car. So Freddie Hunt has been doing A-OK.
Yeah, he's not driven front-wheel drive cars either. That's the other tricky part. Lights are out on the pace car. We're set to go back to racing. A quick dash to the finish, just a short time remaining.
1 minute and 32 seconds, so that should be enough, barely, for 2 laps here in the 30-minute time session for the Formula 1600 Tour, as Marc-Antoine Cardin will lead him onto the front straightaway. Jake Cowden, Connor Klubine, Callum Baxter, and Didier Schreinen, your top 5. As they come onto the front chute, the green flag waves once again, and the last lap board is out. So they will have 1 lap. This is it for the Formula 1600 Tour at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Cardin will try and hold off the 66 of Jake Cowden.
Down through corner number 3, the 66 of Jake Cowden looking for an opportunity, but also feeling a little pressure, I think, from his teammate in the 6, Connor Klubine, right behind him.
You can't really make a daring move because you'll give up your position. If you're the 66, the 6, you have the 65 right there, as well as there is the 27 of Jacob Moreau trying to battle back. He is a lap down to your race leaders. So he's a non-factor in this one, and one of the factors is taking a look going into turn number 8. The 66 of Cowden making a move, and he'll stick it down low. Can Cardin come back across in turn number 9?
Cardin has been quicker in corner number 9, but is he going to have time to do it? He is right up on the gearbox of that 66 car.
Jake Cowden has won race number 1. He won race number 2. He leads them off turn number 11. Cardin will follow in his tire tracks. Jake Cowden will win race number 3 for the Formula 1600. It's a last lap pass. Cardin will come home in second spot, and Connor Klubine will round out the podium finishers in the number 6. What a move by the 66 in an area that he was not that quick all race long compared to the 10.
He knew he had one lap to get it done, seized the opportunity heading into corner number 6. One of the best passing spots on the track, but as you mentioned, not necessarily his best portion of the track through this 30-minute race, but used the draft, got right up, made the nice move to the inside, got the car through the corner, and then held on the rest of the way.
It's good sportsmanship there between the 66 and the 10. You saw a big thumbs up from Jake Cowden and a thumbs up back from Marc-Antoine Cardin. No doubt Cardin will be disappointed, unable to win here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, but what a show these two drivers put on, and a clean display of racing as well. A minor touch between them at one point that was merely accidental.
That was good, hard, aggressive racing without being overly physical. I think both drivers will respect each other for that. In fact, I think there's a lot of respect throughout this field because we saw a lot of that kind of racing throughout this 30-minute event.
The Britain West Motorsports team once again 2 steps on the podium with the 66 of Cowden and the 6 of Connor Klubine. Callum Baxter coming home in 4th spot as we take a look at the rest of the top 10 finishers. Baker with a 6th place, a strong run here today. Connor Waglin. And then you see Michel Bonnet, Martin Brousseau, the winner of the Pro-Am division, ahead of Martin Jansen. So the 83 will take top step in the Pro-Am class, but a big congratulations goes to the driver of the 66, Jake Cowden, the winner 3 times here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières all weekend long. He's found himself in victory lane. He does it again here on Sunday.
This should be an indication of things to come today. This just the first of 3 races this morning before the feature event this afternoon of the NASCAR Pinty Series, and then it wraps up. Of course, there's a modified race as well afterwards.
That's right. The Legends cars who practiced earlier on today, the modified Legends will, or they qualified earlier on today, I should say. They'll come back with their feature at 4:25 after the NASCAR Pinty Series runs their 60-lap main event. But this one had plenty of action as soon as the cars rolled off. Started with a loose nose cone for the driver of the 97. Mario Dufour, and he lost that nose cone, but we stayed green, and look at the battles all through the field, right since the drop of the green. There's that nose cone, which is a nose cone no more.
Connor Klubine hit it. You see where it came from, and then the 66 was able to get around and take the lead shortly thereafter. But a tremendous fight. You saw the 6 brush the wall as you caught, Dave, and then the 66 came through on that pass.
And so did the 10 as well. Took advantage in turn number 6. So Klubine, I thought he might have bent something in the rear suspension. It looks like he just essentially lost his momentum. The 27 visited the tire wall in turn number 1. Hard under braking, locked it up a couple of times. And he went a lap down, did...
Jacob Moreau had a very eventful weekend, went a lap down, but did get back into the fight. And then the 66 swings wide, opening the door for the 10 of Marc-Antoine Cardin to move up the inside and take over the lead towards what we thought might be the finish until we had another fight.
Late race restart. Cowden coming back in turn number 6. And then Cardin caught him behind. There he surprised him in turn number 9. So that is where the 10 cars seemed to really pick up speed, through that 8 and 9 complex. And then Cardin was off to the races, or so we thought. A late race caution for this incident. The 22 of Duncan Murdoch coming to a rest against the wall in between turn 8 and 9.
Field gathered up around the pace car. Marc-Antoine Cardin, who was out in front in the 10 car, would take the green flag on the last lap. Last lap, one more to go. So it's get all you can, and then the 66 came hunting.
And down out of turn number 7. It was really a run that started off of turn number 6. And the 66 able to get that momentum through the kink in turn number 7. Stick it to the inside and hold off the number 10 for his 3rd win of the weekend. And a big thumbs up to Marc-Antoine Cardin as the drivers find their way down pit lane, and they will attend the podium ceremonies here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. But once again, a big congratulations to your race winner, Jake Cowden. 2nd place to Marc-Antoine Cardin, and 3rd place to Connor Klubine. And that does it for the Formula 1600 Tour here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Up next will be the Super Production Challenge Series, and that one gets underway at 10:35, so just about 20 minutes or so, and we'll be back on track here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières with the Super Production Challenge. For Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley. Thanks very much for joining us for the Formula 1600s. Again, 10:35, set your alarm and come back and join us, because the start for the Super Production Challenge, a standing start with concrete walls on both sides. And yes, it's as crazy as you think it might play out to be. So we'll be back with that here on a beautiful Sunday at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
Place. Mesdames, Messieurs, nous allons maintenant procéder à la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Formule 1600 Canada. Pour honorer les 3 pilotes de la classe principale, la Pro, j'invite le président à vie de la série 1600, Marcel Lafontaine. En 3e position, in 3rd place, de Brantford, Ontario, Connor Klubine. En 2e position, il est de Sorel, Marc-Antoine Cardin. Et finalement, le gagnant, lui aussi de Brantford, Ontario, Jake Cowden. Mesdames, Messieurs, ceci complète la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Formule 1600 Canada. Restez avec nous pour la prochaine épreuve au programme dans la catégorie Super Production Challenge.
Good morning and welcome back to the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, the 52nd running of this event. And what an event it is as we get set to bring to you the Super Production Challenge Series. And what an exciting series this is to have here at the 52nd running of this event. 3 classes all mixed in together. So you have the Super Production class, the Production class, and the Compact class. And they will invert the fastest times from race number 2. So a 3-race schedule over the course of the weekend for these cars and for these teams. So it's a pretty busy one, especially if you run into some trouble, as has the 11 of Eric Hagenschurz, who is going to start there in the yellow BMW. He's caught the wall a couple of times, as a matter of fact. A big one in turn number 3 after contact with the 1 of Olivier Bedard in race number 2 yesterday. Jimmy Briere won that race. His home track race, a man from Trois-Rivières, Quebec, so it was a big win for him in the Hyundai Genesis. Olivier Bedard won race number 1 on Friday night. Hagenschurz came into this one as your points leader, lost that points lead when Bedard won race number 1 and slid back even further following race number 2, but it'll be interesting to see how things play out here in race number 3. The people on screen are not me. They are the French team bringing you the French streams here today. My name is Dave Bradley, and I'm happy to be here with you for the entire day's events for the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Again, still to come, we have the Nissan Sentra Cup coming up after this one. And of course, the highlight of today will be the Russo Metals 60 presented by Julia Wines for the NASCAR Pinty's Series. And that comes up starting at 2 o'clock later today. So the field lined up here on the front straightaway, but this is not how they will start. They'll do 1 warm-up lap, and then they'll come back onto the front chute, and they will start or from a standing start. So that is a big difference from some of the other series that we've seen here over the course of the weekend, as Todd Lewis from NASCAR on TSN joins me up here in the booth. And Todd, it's been an exciting way to get things underway here in the Super Production Challenge, because you can be fast over the course of a lap, but will you get the power down when the lights go out?
That's the important part off the start here in the Super Production Challenge, because of the unique standing start in this weekend. There are other series that use a standing start, of course. We've seen it previously, but this is the only one this weekend that is using the dramatic standing start. As you described it yesterday, I believe, is imagine everyone getting in their cars in the parking lot and trying to leave at the same time. That's kind of what happens, only it goes a lot faster here.
It does. There's contact, there's, cars can spin out, and then you've got the 3 different series all mixed together. As a matter of fact, Jimmy Briere started in 3rd yesterday. He got a great launch. He went to the inside in turn number 1 and made contact with the driver who was starting on pole in Marc-Andre Bourdage. But Briere not suffering any damage. As a matter of fact, neither car really suffered too much damage in that race. Neither had to retire, and Briere went on to win the race. So you never know what can happen. Where you are on the track doesn't really matter. Of course, if you're a little bit further back, you get the dust from these cars as they start. But what is also unique about the Super Production Challenge is they will take your quickest lap from the previous race. So race number 2, they'll go over the lap counts and see who is quickest and who second, and that's how they start the qualifying order, or line up the cars based on their last or their best speed from race number 2. And then they'll do an invert draw as well. So that's why you see the 11 back in 4th place. The 1 is back there as well. So those are typically some of the faster cars that we see here in the Super Production class, but they're going to start mid-pack, and it just adds a little element to the show.
All in the spirit of excitement and close competition, which the Super Production Challenge certainly provides in each of the 3 classes that will run here. The other thing that we see through the starts, through the restarts, is that where there is a wide corner here around the streets of Trois-Rivières, cars tend to spread out and fan out and go 3, 4, sometimes even 5 wide, depending on the series. Well, that will happen here, and in the start, shortly, we'll see that as well. But when a standing start is used, you have cars accelerating at very different rates, fanning out 3, 4, 5 wide, and then having to understand how to funnel down through corners 1, 2, and 3 eventually, which, again, only adds to the excitement.
And then let's factor in front-wheel drive,
right,
rear-wheel drive, so cars hook up differently. Obviously, a front-wheel drive car is not going to stick as well on a standing start as a rear-wheel drive car. It's just based on physics. I mean, the weight goes backwards, sits on those rear wheels, and those cars tend to hook up a little bit better if they don't spin their tires. And we've seen that on a couple of occasions where some of those rear-wheel drive cars spin the tires on the start. They have to really back out of it, get those tires to hook up, and then go. But by that time, several cars have swallowed them up. And then, as you mentioned, you have different classes mixed in. So this is a series based on, it's inspired by IMSA, and it came about 11 years ago. 2011 is when the first Super Production Challenge race was held. It started to spread out now into Ontario with events at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. The Super Production class has 300 wheel horsepower maximum, or 11 pounds per rear wheel horsepower. So once you eclipse that level, you add weight on, and so you can exceed, but you will have a weight penalty. So you try and keep the horsepower. They're trying to keep the level playing field in this class. They're two-wheel drive, rear-wheel drive in most cases, and they can have paddle shift no older than 15 years old. So trying to keep a current model in the Super Production Challenge. And most of them you can see, the Chevrolet Camaro, the Nissan 370, and you can see there's a Honda Civic in there as well, the Hyundai Genesis as well from Jimmy Briere. We're going to send it down trackside in just a minute.
Mesdames, Messieurs, pour prononcer l'invitation traditionnelle à lancer les moteurs, accueillons le chef marketing des épiciers IGA, M. François Marette.
Pilote, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engine.
With a Toronto Blue Jays hat on. So how about that? For the English crowd here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Generally, they do it bilingual, so you get the French and then you get the English, as everybody gets to figure out what's going on. And that's the beauty of the GP3R. It is so all-encompassing and all-welcoming here. They just love their fans. It doesn't matter where you come from across the country. You are welcome here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
Fans do travel here as well. It is an event, one of the best events in Canada through the motorsports calendar. And this is why we were speaking earlier of so many people wanting to be back here this year, to be back, to feel that excitement, to feel that energy. And it has been wonderful for the first 2 days and will continue through the conclusion of events today here as we're back on track. Engines fired, pace car pulling away. Now the field will set away on their one pace lap before coming to a stop once again and preparing for that standing start and head into corner number 1.
And we should tell you that the Super Production class has amended the rules just a little bit to allow a splitter on the front end of the race car. So that does give them a little bit of an aerodynamic advantage over the production class cars. So not only do they have that big tail wing, but now they've also got, it's really a small, it's 3 inches from the bumper. So it's not a huge splitter. It's not going to provide huge downforce, but on a touring car platform, that splitter does give you a lot of front bite. And for some of the series around the world, that is where they build most of their downforce, is with that splitter. So Super Production saying, okay, that is something we will adopt here for 2022.
It's the right compromise to have just a small bit of downforce created by the splitter on the front, but still very much maintaining the integrity and the production look of the cars. These look very similar to cars that you would see on the street or in a showroom, and that you could purchase. Just that one minor modification at the front. Of course, it's a race car, so it has a wing on the back. That's just natural, isn't it? But the drivers moving around the circuit now, starting to get a little bit of heat in their tires as best they can. And the entire field seems pretty bunched up, and nobody moving too quickly right now to get around, just kind of weaving back and forth, generate a little bit of heat, and those cars at the front will be sitting for a couple of minutes while the rest of the field lines up.
That blue and yellow and black Lexus IS 350, I want to single out the Frederic Bernier crew in the number 28. You can see the body damage to the nose of that car. I am shocked that it is able to make a start here today. He caught the wall right here at turn number 8. A tank slapper, so the back end went out. He tried to catch up to it and labeled that front wall, the wall on the exit of that runoff area, and hit the concrete, flattened the nose of that Lexus, so he missed yesterday's race. But they worked so hard and managed to fix it up. He's going to make a start here today. There's a few other drivers who had big damage as well, and miraculously, these cars are back together and in today's race.
Good for them. And yes, I saw that Lexus as it was being hauled away on the flatbed and thought, I'm not sure that we'll see that the rest of the week. But good for that team for working so hard to get ready. As everyone just starts to get lined up for their standing start position, the officials working with the drivers make sure that they are properly positioned in their starting box. And once everyone is, lights will come on and then disappear to launch the field into corner number 1.
Jimmy Briere and Marc Heroux will make up the front row. Alongside and just in behind will be Eric Hogenschertz in the 11 and the 1 of Olivier Bedard. And those are the first 2 rows. As you can see, it's a long wait sitting on the front straightaway because of the amount of cars here in all 3 classes, and because they're spread out a little bit more because of this standing start. You can see it takes a long time and it fills up this entire front straightaway. So it looks like the field is completely lined up. The lineup crew is hurrying off the racetrack as we will light the lights and set to send these cars off for a 30-minute time session here in the Super Production Challenge Series.
Waiting to hear the engines rev up just a little bit as the drivers get ready for the start of this race. There's a good down low look at the field lined up and ready to go. Starting to hear the revs.
Yeah, the anticipation is building as we get set for the drop of the green here for the Super Production Challenge Series. And there's the revs, and now we're off. As it looks like Briere got a good start in that diesel-powered Hyundai Genesis. Heroux actually got a pretty good jump too, but so did the 1 of Olivier Bedard. Are we going to make it clean through 1 and 2? So far, so good.
Wondered if Heroux was going to make it through there. He was a little bit slow off the line, but did seem to get the power down now and has settled back into a second position as they go through corner 3.
This is where it becomes a bottleneck, and you can see the drivers are slowly making their way through. Some drivers actually come to a full stop in turn number 3 because there is no room at the end to make it through there side by side. It looks like Hogenschertz in the 11 is off the pace a little bit. That number 91 car, another car that caught the wall, Sean Bernier, was driven by Chris Bernier yesterday, and he had some damage to that BMW. They banged it back out, and you saw the Lexus off in turn number 6. It looks like it's leaking fluid. So that's a wise move for the driver of that Lexus. So maybe a hose left loose as they put that car back together, but smart move to get off the racetrack and not leak any of that liquid on the track.
Hard to see exactly what happened there, but you saw that Lexus come through at a pretty quick speed, and here we'll get another look at it, and you can see that you can be on the brakes, but there is smoke coming out from underneath that car. There is definitely a problem with that, and unfortunate after working so hard to get it back out onto the grid that it looks like it's going to be a very short afternoon, or morning, excuse me.
Absolutely, and you can see the liquid, whatever it is, oil or water, I'm not 100% sure, white smoke, not blue smoke, which is, the blue smoke usually indicates it's oil burning on the headers, but either way, the day is done for the driver of the Lexus IS 350, Frederic Bernier, from nearby Quebec City, as he sits in the runoff area in turn number 6. Great battle through the field, though. You can see here is the mix of production and compact cars. You see Joel Watts in the 17. That was another car that visited trouble off turn number 11. He made contact with, I think it was Nathan Chan in one of the minis And Watts actually hammered the front stretch wall with the right front corner. And again, crew went to work last night. Got it all fixed up. He's back in it now.
Great job as we're watching the leader come across the start-finish line once again. The 12 of Jimmy Briere with a 1:16.6. Olivier Bedard, Eric Wojciechowski, and then Marc Aout and Sean Bernier, your top 5.
Saying it's Hagenschurtz in the 11. It's actually his teammate, Eric Wojciechowski. As we were told that it would be Hagenschurtz all weekend long. The timing and scoring indicating something different. So we're learning as you're learning, and it looks like Wojciechowski has that car sorted out. But again, that was another one that visited the tire wall in turn number 3. Big damage to the right side of that car, but they managed to get it all fixed back up. And it's taking Wojciechowski a couple laps just to get familiar again with this track and with that car. It looks like the spoiler gone from the 24 of Marc Aout. The rear deck spoiler on that Chevy Camaro is missing.
That might be one of the reasons why he slid back a little bit in this field from the start. He was on the front row at the start of this race, and yes, no downforce to the rear.
That's interesting, actually. I wonder if it'll make a huge difference here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. It doesn't look like he hit anything recently anyway. You can see some old damage to the back end of that Chevy Camaro, but yes, for sale, a slightly used spoiler somewhere around this circuit. We'll try and see where exactly he did lose it. You see the 6 of Marc-André Bourdage coming through. And there's the 91 of Sean Bernier. That BMW that had an eventful day. He caught wheels with another car, lifted the front end of that car off the racetrack, and then did catch the wall in turn number 2, damaging the rear end, but managed to soldier home and finish inside the top 10.
Looks like there's been a little bit of work to the track done overnight in corner number 3 with some of that white compound to perhaps smooth things out just a little bit, as we're looking back now at a replay at a little tangle going through corner number 8. That is the 38 car of Megan Tomlinson that is pointed the wrong way, and also the 93 of Patrick Whitmer.
Yes, Tomlinson has had, oh yeah, that's just a little bit. It looks like Tomlinson avoided or just barely brushed the wall, but a double hit from Whitmer as they went through. Whitmer in the compact class making contact there. So that is the problem with these cars, is they're so close and you have to take the advantages where you see them. Looks like Whitmer thought he had the room on the inside, but the room very quickly disappeared.
Yeah, that was let's say overly aggressive move up the inside of that left-hander at corner number 8. There was maybe a glimmer of an opening briefly, but it closed up just as quick as it opened, and it was a move that was going to end the way it did.
Now damage to the nose of that number 93 Honda Fit. You can see Whitmer sliding through the bottom of your screen just now as this is battle through the compact class made up of Honda Fits. You have the Chevrolet Sonic and the Nissan Micra Cup cars, the Toyota Echo Cup as well. So 2 cars that look very similar, very much like grown-up go-karts. Racing here in the compact class, but it is, again, it's a great starting point. And the Nissan Micra Cup, as they started to move into the Sentra Cup cars, this Super Production Challenge gave those cars a place to play. Now you can still run the Micra Cup cars with the Sentra Cup as it travels around Ontario and Quebec, but this is just another option for those cars and those drivers.
93 car was just shown the black and white flag at the start-finish line, I believe, for that move that sent the the other car around, the 38 car of Megan Tomlinson turning around.
Can't see what that sign says, but it'd likely be a warning or possibly a penalty for the number 93 of Patrick Whitmer out of Vaudreuil, Quebec. As we're still watching the number 99 of Sylvain Ouellette. It's actually Eric Chaput in that car, who normally runs in the Nissan Sentra Cup behind the wheel. So that car was campaigned by Gilles Villeneuve, not obviously related to the Villeneuves, as the leaders now come into the slower traffic. So we have had a change for the overall lead, as Olivier Bedard has tracked down the 12 of Jimmy Briere, and he's brought along Eric Wojciechowski in the 11. So it's a 3 six-person party at the front of the field.
Now having to navigate the traffic, and this is the other part about running multiple classes, is that the faster cars that started the front of this Super Production Challenge, the Super Production category, they now have to navigate through after only 5 or 6 laps around the track.
That straight line speed from that BMW, the yellow one, is absolutely amazing. As you saw Wojciechowski looking on the inside of turn number 2, thought better of it as Jimmy Briere defended his position. Now single file through turn number 3, a smart maneuver there for Wojciechowski as he tries to look for a way around, and another compact car in the way. So a run that he thought he had made up, and look at that, just one small error and the gap behind Jimmy Briere grows.
But now another car in front of the 12 of Jimmy Briere may bunch them up once again as they're coming through the left-hander, and now, wow, this is a lot of traffic to navigate. You see the speed of that BMW catching up pretty quickly.
Marc Aout working through lap traffic as well, sitting in 4th spot overall as Olivier Bedard won race number 1, finished 2nd in race number 2 after making contact with Eric Hagenschurz in the 11 and sending Hagenschurz into the wall. So his teammate Eric Wojciechowski behind the wheel of that yellow BMW this time. But can he catch the number 1 of Olivier Bedard? He'll have to get through the 12 of Jimmy Briere, a determined driver from right here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec, looking for win number 2 of the weekend. Wouldn't that be nice?
Out in front right now, Olivier Bedard leads the number 12 of Jimmy Briere. A little bit of a gap between 1st and 2nd, and 2nd and 3rd. Eric Wojciechowski running 3rd. Marc Aout and Sean Bernier a little further back in 4th and 5th, respectively.
Best time laid down so far is by the 11, Eric Wojciechowski. It happened several laps ago as he takes a peek in turn number 6. He's really not close enough to make a valiant effort on the 12 of Jimmy Briere. As you can see, some of the concrete dust is still getting kicked up from some of these race cars. And is that a little bit of smoke from the 11?
I was just going to ask the same question. Yes, it is, and that is a lot of smoke from the 11.
As it looks like the engine has decided enough is enough. 2.5 races for the weekend is more than enough for that BMW as it expires just as they were coming to pit lane. So Wojciechowski, who is sitting in 3rd spot, is now along pit lane, and what a shakeup this is going to do to the overall point standings as Olivier Bedard continues out in front. So he came into this event, this race weekend, 2nd in points just by 1 to the 11 team of Wojciechowski and Hagenschurz. And there is the expiration date reached on the BMW motor underneath the hood of that number 11 car. Quick thinking, though, to dive to pit lane.
Smart driving by the number 11 driver of Wojciechowski to drive underneath, and yes, we'll just take this right off the track and not spill fluid everywhere. How many times have we watched a race and seen the fastest laps by a car performed just before the engine expires? And that was the case here. Was really looking forward to seeing how these 3 cars battled after the 10-minute mark now, but it'll just be a 2-car battle for the time being.
Isn't that the old saying? They're always the quickest just before they blow up. And that seemed to be the case with Eric Wojciechowski in the 11. It's interesting, though, that the car did not spill a lot of fluid down on the racetrack. It seemed to be fairly tidy as far as an internal explosion. So whatever happened on the inside, it's probably a mess, but it didn't blow any holes in that block and allow oil to spill out onto the racetrack.
This is a traffic jam.
Yeah, it's a traffic jam involving Greg Bell out of Canada, Ontario. That's the car that caught the tire wall. You can see the rear bodywork now gone. Is that the door panel? We'll have a look as he comes by. It is the door panel on that Toyota GT86. So he caught the tire wall. The car seems to be okay, just minus a little bit of bodywork.
Yanked the mirror off it and the door panel apparently, but continues to go. We'll watch another replay here and just simply runs out of room, slides a little bit. You see the mirror dangling now and loosened up the door panel, and there it lays on the side of the track.
So it seems to be out of the racing line, so No caution as of yet, which is good news. So we stay green with 17.5 minutes left to go in a 30-minute timed race for the Super Production Challenge Series. There is your overall leader, Olivier Bedard, followed by Jimmy Briere. So these two swapped their positions as they followed each other home yesterday, and you can see the smoke still coming out of the tailpipe of the 11 of Eric Wojciechowski down pit lane. And now you can see some of the drips of oil coming from the front of the car. If you look further up in that picture, inside the picture here, as we continue to watch Olivier Bedard out in front.
Out in front, and seems to be extending that lead just a little bit over Jimmy Briere as they make their way around the back part of the course. A pretty comfortable position right now with a nice gap between himself and the second place runner. Gives you a little extra time, a little extra maneuverability when you're handling the traffic, as he's doing right now with that number 74 going by. Eases himself over to driver's left and then around the slower car, and continues to maintain that gap between second and place.
Stefan Day drives the 74, 32nd overall, running in the compact class. And we can tell you there have been a number of retirements from the Super Production class, and they are listed at the bottom of the running order. So we'll get to those over the course of this race. So Wojciechowski, Megan Tomlinson is out. Charles Bilodeau in the 26. Frederic Bernier in the 28. We saw him in the Lexus having catastrophic failure. And Shelby Mills also in the Volkswagen, unable to finish this event here, race number 3. It is a fairly taxing weekend for these cars and these teams as well, because sometimes you're racing in the evening and then all of a sudden on the schedule the next morning you're back at it.
Right, these cars were out yesterday afternoon, a turnaround for a morning race to finish up their weekend. So the attrition has been pretty significant, just about nearing the halfway mark of this 30-minute event. And we have stayed green throughout this event, though, in spite of a couple of incidents of contact, like this one with the car up against the wall and into the tire barrier. That 81 car starting to find reverse gear, get himself backed up, and look for the spot to get back into the fight. And no harm, no foul.
Solid heads-up move. You saw him with the corner workers there, and it's Martin Hussar in the 81, and that is a pretty solid dive into the tire wall in turn number 6. And we haven't really talked about how difficult turn number 6 is to navigate. There's a bump on the apex of that corner, so if you hit it wrong, the cars will jump out and you all of a sudden run out of room on the exit of turn number 6. And that's what happened to Martin Hussar in the Toyota Echo Cup car in the compact class, but no harm, no foul. And he'll keep going. So as you mentioned, we've stayed green through this entire distance so far, and it's been Bedard who managed to get up front, getting around the 12 of Jimmy Briere as they work through traffic. And now you can see a flash of the headlights. You really won't be able to see that too much in the blinding sunshine, but the 2 car will hold to the inside, and you can see now some of the debris littering this racetrack. But hey, you know it's there, just avoid it.
And that will be the trick going the rest of the way in the 14 minutes remaining. But Olivier Bedard pretty comfortably out in front right now, as we see the 3 car who is making his way into pit lane.
That's Almeida in the Toyota GT86 in the production class. So he'll find his way down pit lane. The cross flags indicating halfway now. We're a little bit over halfway as far as the times go, with just about 13.5 minutes left to go here in the Super Production Challenge Series. And everybody's sorted out on the racetrack here at the front of the field for the Super Production class. Olivier Bedard, your race leader. It's not sorted rest of the way down, as you saw 2 cars nose to tail in the compact class. So that's the Chevrolet Sonic of Eric Coulomb, sponsored by GM Paillet, and I think that's Chaput in the 99 who's just in behind. So they're actually drafting down the straightaway while keeping an eye out for the leaders who are coming through. So the battle is for 28th and 29th in that compact class, as Chaput goes wide in turn number 6, but it's still Coulomb who hangs on to that position. There's those 2 cars as they come through, still leaders separated by a reasonable margin at the front of the field. As we say thank you to Todd Lewis, he'll head out for his NASCAR on TSN duties. But as the cars cross the stripe this time by, we'll get a better idea of the distance between these two at the front of the field. And it's just under 2 seconds. But Olivier Bedard continues to pace the field as he's masterfully worked through lap traffic. We can tell you Marc Aru in the number 24 is in third place overall. Sean Bernier having a great run in that number 91. Fourth place, Daniel Blanchette in the number 89. So a driver we haven't talked about much all race long. Blanchette running with Samuel Leclerc in the Acura TL here in the super production class. So he's having a good run, sitting inside the top 5. Leclerc had an eventful couple of races, so he gives up the Acura TL to Blanchette. Marc-Andre Bourdage in the number 6, holding down 6th place overall. And it's Mario Charette in the number 57. Michael Habrich in the 88, and then Alex Habrich in the 75. Michael Habrich had a big incident in Friday's race, affecting the front end of that race car. They worked through yesterday and got it ready for today's race. And Charles Despatie in the 71, all super production class cars. Your top 10, Nelson Chan leading the production class in the 45 Mini, ahead of Sylvain Laporte in the 50. And then Nathan Block in the 05 rounds out the podium in the production class. And we can go through the running order and tell you who's leading in the compact class. That is still Patrick Whitmer in the number 93. You saw him make contact earlier on with the 38 Honda Civic. Second place is Etienne Samson Laflamme in the number 19, and then Eric Coulomb. We've seen him at times in this race in the number 83 is the third in the compact class. So that's your running order in your 3 different divisions as they sit right now. But this is your overall race leader, Olivier Bedard, in the number 1 as he continues out in front now with under 10 minutes to go as they cross the stripe ahead of the 12 of Jimmy Briere. They put a lap on the 17 of Joel Watts in the Honda Civic SI, prepared by Tooth Autosport. And again, that team had to go to work making repairs last night. Now the leaders coming into some heavier lap traffic. So keep an eye on the corner marshals. They'll show some blue flags to these cars ahead of the race leaders, indicating faster traffic is coming. But what a mess of cars in front of Olivier Bedard, and this is going to be some anxiety-inducing situations for the driver, the 1. He is quicker, but is there room on this track? Look at Briere is right there now, right alongside the 1 as Bedard goes way to the outside. Briere might have been in the lead in turn number 7. No, they're side by side into turn number 8. What a difference the traffic has made here for the overall race lead in the Super Production Challenge Series. As Olivier Bedard finds his way through on the inside, you saw Briere tuck it hard down low to dive underneath some of those compact cars. Now he drives through the painted green area in turn number 11. So it's Olivier Bedard now with a little bit of breathing room on Jimmy Briere once again, but hair-raising moments for sure as they came into a gaggle of race cars down the back straightaway. And that allowed the 12 to really close up in a matter of 2 corners and actually make an attempt, a shot at the overall race lead. As you see the leader now going around the 30 of Greg Bell, and problems for the number 83 of Coulomb as he comes to a rest off of turn number 6. Car stopped on the racetrack, and that will probably bring out a full course caution with 7.5 minutes left to go. We'll have a look and see what the call is. They're going to give an opportunity for that 83 to refire, because it is a timed race here for the Super Production Challenge Series. And it looks like that 83 might be done for the day. The mirror's still on it, so that's an indication usually that he hasn't come into contact with the tire wall. Did not see what happened to the 83 of Eric Coulombe, who was battling for a podium position in the compact class. Well, we stay green, as a matter of fact, so Coulombe being told to stay in his car at this point. As the leaders continue to work through lap traffic, the gap at the front is sizable now. So over 3 seconds back between Olivier Bedard and Jimmy Briere. Marc Aru is 26 seconds further back after losing that tail wing early in this race in the Chevy Camaro. So that might be affecting his ability to get downforce in the turns, but obviously helping him with straight line speed down Boulevard du Carmel in the long straightaway down the backstretch. And that will be a full course caution now for the Super Production Challenge Series here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. And that is the reason why Eric Coulombe has come to a rest on the exit of turn number 6. So again, we didn't see exactly the reason why, but it appears as though it might be something mechanical. We'll hopefully get a replay here to tell us what exactly did happen with the 83, as we have a full course caution that'll allow the rest of the field to catch up before we set the running order. So it hopefully won't be too long. We've got about 5.5 minutes left here in this 30-minute timed session. So the time sessions for the support series, and that's a way to keep things on schedule here over the course of the day. But Olivier Bedard has led since the early going. He had to track down the 12 of Jimmy Briere and did so, and then passed him in traffic on a pass we did not catch on the stream here. But Briere, and it was a 3-horse race for a little while with the number 11 of Eric Wojciechowski before that BMW expired several laps ago. 10 minutes ago, he's been sitting on pit lane. As Eric Coulombe, it'll also give an opportunity for the cleanup crew to catch some of that debris that has been scattered on that straightaway between turn 6 and turn 7. And that's the cut into turn number 8. So that's a passing opportunity for these cars, and we've seen another number of the passes completed there. But the field now bunching up, and they will not separate the classes. Essentially, where the caution came out is where you are going to restart. And so it'll be a mix of all 3 different classes all together when they do eventually go back to green. This is going to require a full tow, so not even just a push off the track. And I think they're going to hook up to the tow strap. You can see the yellow tow strap on the back of that car. That is for ease of cleanup for some of these Touring Series cars. That's generally what they do. They'll have a tow strap on the front and a tow strap on the back. So if the wheels are all still on and generally pointed in the right direction, they can just hook them up and pull them off the racetrack and try and get the cleanup done as quickly as possible. But still to come here today, it is a very packed day's events with the Nissan Sentra Cup set to do battle here. 11:35 will be their start time, so about 2.5 minutes left in this one. If we do get back to green, it'll be a very short run to the checkered flag here in the Super Production Challenge, and then we'll have a significant break from about 12:30 until the start of the NASCAR Pinty's Series and the Rousseau Metals 60 presented by Julia Wines. 2 o'clock green flag for that race, and that one is not a timed race. 60 laps on tap, and there could be weather moving in too, so it'll be interesting to see if the drops start to fall. It'll be up to the teams. If we start under dry conditions, it'll be up to the teams to decide if they want to come in for wet tires, but we're still watching the skies, watching the radar, and the weather could still miss us, so we'll see what happens with that one. But another variable to throw into the mix for the NASCAR Pinty Series, and then we'll finish off the day's events with the Legends and the Modified Legends, their final race of the weekend, and the final race to cap off the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-de-Guerre. We appreciate you joining us, though, for every step of the way. There have been a lot of steps. As a matter of fact, 15 on-track races that matter. As the pace car pulls in, we're looking to finish this race that matters for the Super Production Challenge. 1 minute to go, so it'll be a green flag with the last lap board, and Olivier Bedard has a couple cars between him and Jimmy Briere. So he has that cushion. Briere got a great start, though, moving to the outside and clearing those cars in through turn number 1. But is he close enough to Bedard to make a move and an attempt at the lead here on the final lap? Watch the nose of that Hyundai Genesis, the red car of Jimmy Briere from right here in Trois-de-Guerre, Quebec, chasing the driver out of Terrebonne, Quebec, is Olivier Bedard, who's already won once this weekend. Jimmy Briere picked up a checkered flag of his own in race number 2 for this series just 1 day ago. And it'll be between these two drivers to settle it. Bedard does not make too many mistakes. He'll have to make a huge one for Briere to capitalize here in the final few turns as they head down to turn number 8. Bedard, a little bump of the rumble strip on corner exit in through 9. And now he can look in his mirrors and pretty much ease his way through turn 10 and 11 and onto the front chute. As time elapses and the checkered flag flies, the winner here in the final race of the weekend for the Super Production Challenge Series goes to Olivier Bedard. He'll take the overall win, followed by Jimmy Briere, and Marc Aru will round out the top 3 in the Super Production class, and Nelson Chan in the 45, that Mini, will win in the production class over Yannick Lupien and Sylvain Laporte. And then we look back to the compact class, and the winner there will be Patrick Whitmer after making contact early on. Etienne Sampson Laflamme in the 19, as we got a little bit of donuts here. So how about a celebration on a Sunday to wake up the neighbors at 11 o'clock in the morning here in Trois-de-Guerre, Quebec. But they're awake because they are here at the racetrack and catching all this great action already. So Etienne Sampson Laflamme in the compact class comes home second. Eric Chaput in the number 99 will round out the top 3 in the production class. But there is your overall race winner in the Super Production class. He did it on Friday, and he does it again here on Sunday. 2 wins out of 3 in a solid points day for the driver of the number 1 in that Nissan 370Z. Didn't make too many mistakes over the course of the weekend. And it shows as the 11 of Wojciechowski and Hogenschertz came into this race, your points leaders, but they had a weekend to forget. As a matter of fact, tried to salvage as many points as they could, and then unfortunately today that car expired. So there will be a shakeup in the points here in the Super Production Challenge Series, and that driver there will be your points leader by a significant margin as they leave Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Cars working their way down onto the pit area as Olivier Bedard will find his way through there as well. And this is the issue with so many cars, is that the winner has to find pit lane and he'll hop out and then make his way over to the podium celebrations. But Olivier Bedard, your overall race winner, followed home by the 12 of Jimmy Briere and the 24 of Marc Heroux. That's overall class winners here and winner in the Super Production Challenge Series. What a race for race number 2 of a Super Sunday here on the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. We'll be back with the Nissan Sentra Cup. Green flag flies at 11:35 for Todd Lewis. I'm Dave Bradley. Thanks very much for joining us for the Super Production Challenge. As you can see, some of the highlights here, and there were many, including that unique standing start for the Super Production Challenge Series. And battles all over the racetrack as well. You can see there is Bedard in the white number 1. He didn't have a clean start. He didn't have an easy way by, but mechanical issues, realistically, the underlining story here. There was some minor contact that affected several drivers, including the 93 of Whitmer, who eventually went on to win in the compact class. And there was your pass for the lead as Bedard used turn number 9 as his place to execute the eventual race-winning pass. That's the issues affecting Eric Wojciechowski in the 11. After the team worked to straighten up bodywork and get that car back in working order, unfortunately this time it was mechanical, not a race incident, that cost them the win. Some battle scars. Some of these cars will leave with significant amounts of them after a tight race on a tight circuit. So challenging on a street circuit, and you can see so challenging when you get into lap traffic. It almost cost Olivier Bedard the race win and the lead. There's more damage there for the number 71 Boulette. And a late race restart with one more lap to go gave Jimmy Briere one more opportunity to pass for the win. You saw actually the number 91 of Sean Bernier was very close to the number 24 of Marc Heroux, and they did come past the line. That was the battle for the final podium position between the BMW and the Chevy Camaro. Marc Heroux eventually just nipping at the line, the driver of the 91. So Marc Heroux marked 3rd overall. Sean Bernier, Marc-Andre Bourdage, Daniel Blanchette, Mario Charette, Michael Habrich, Gabriel Lacombe, and Alex Habrich to round out your top 10 overall, all Super Production Challenge cars. So once again, for Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley, and we'll see you at 11:35 or shortly before for the final race of the weekend for the Nissan Sentra Cup here from the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières.
de la catégorie SPC Compact, Patrick Whitmer. Patrick, comment ça s'est passé de ton côté?
Bien, le départ était super bien. J'ai pas eu de problème. J'ai eu un petit accrochage avec un autre compétiteur pour ça que je m'excuse. Et aux relances, Étienne Laflamme m'a vraiment donné le tort, fait le tort.
La chaleur assez difficile aujourd'hui dans les voitures, hein?
Oui, chaleur assez, mais beaucoup mieux qu'hier soir.
Bien, merveilleux, on vous laisse aller célébrer sur le podium.
Merci beaucoup.
La course Super Production Challenge en classe compacte seulement. Pour honorer les 3 pilotes, je réinvite le chef marketing chez IGA, M. François Marette. En 3e position, il n'est pas avec nous parce qu'il se prépare pour la prochaine course. Il est de Louisville, Sylvain Ouellette. En 2e place, il est de Saint-Jean-sur-Richelieu, Étienne Sanson-Laflamme. Et le gagnant en classe compacte, il est d'une famille de coureurs éprouvés. Il est de Vaudreuil, Patrick Whitmer. Ceci complète la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Super Production Challenge en classe compacte. Restez avec nous pour la prochaine épreuve au programme dans la catégorie Coupe Nissan Sentra.
Du CT des loges, responsable du suivi des matières recyclables.
On retrouve rapidement Étienne Sanson-Laflamme après le podium. Étienne, célébration clairement qui s'est bien passée. Comment a été ta course?
Ça a super bien été. Écoute, j'ai donné tout ce que j'avais. La chaleur, encore une fois, c'est accablant. Patrick, chapeau, mais j'étais pas loin derrière lui. Tout a bien été. Puis, merci à mes partenaires. On lâche pas, l'équipe aussi. Un gros merci. Merci au Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières aussi. C'est une super piste. Merci pour tout.
Eh bien, on te laisse aller célébrer dans les camions afin de saluer la foule.
And good morning and welcome back to the Grand Prix at Trois-Rivières here on a Sunday. Beautiful weather so far. Fingers crossed we say so far because there is a severe thunderstorm watch and a heat warning in effect. Just checking Environment Canada's status and what we have in store for later on today. And that could create some interesting situations come the NASCAR Pinty's Series race. So the timeline for weather here today is as follows, and it is an improvement from yesterday when it was suggested that we could start seeing rain as early as 11 o'clock this morning. We're at 11:28 right now. So good news. It's not raining. It's very hot out. Right now it's 28 degrees here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. With the humidity, it feels like 32. And that's why you see the doors open here on the Nissan Sentra Cup cars. That's the next class out on track as the sun continues to shine. Let's head down for the words.
Pilotes, démarrez vos moteurs. Drivers, start your engines.
The most famous words in motorsports as the field comes to life here on the front straightaway. The Nissan Sentra Cup, the next class out on track. 40-minute timed race for these drivers, and they have been putting on a very good show over the course of the weekend. But back to the weather story that we're watching. It appears as though about 2 o'clock is when there is a chance we could start seeing some showers, possibly a thunderstorm, and it might be quick and brief or heavy and brief. So it might move out quickly, but 2 o'clock, circle that on your calendar today because that is when the NASCAR Pinty Series race is set to start for the Rousseau Medal 60 presented by Julia Wines. So a little something to look forward to here this afternoon as we get set for the third race of the morning in the Nissan Sentra Cup and their final race of the weekend. As we mentioned, they've had a pretty busy weekend as well, with qualifying on Friday. They started things off with a race on Saturday yesterday at about 2 o'clock. This will be their second race of the weekend, and it's been fairly closely contested. Some tempers have flared at times. Nothing on track, just a lot of hand gestures, but makes it fun to watch, really does, when you're a spectator watching a class like this. And it is a unique class. It's a one-make series for the most part. Sentra Cup, you can see the Nissan Sentra cars. They're essentially production-based. So they come off the line. They essentially get gutted of the interior. The dash is still the same, though. They're 4 cylinders, 16 valves, what you would get on your street car. 149 horsepower, a 6-speed transmission, though, and they have been fitted with coilover shocks. They get beefed up brakes on the front, so essentially 4-pot calipers in the front, braided lines as well to keep up with the rigors of high-performance driving. And, of course, all the safety aspects as well, the roll cage, the 6-point safety harness, a fire suppression system inside, the racing seat, and the window net all coming in inside. And what's great about the Nissan Sentra Cup is these cars are available, brand new, race ready, for about $40,000. So it's a pretty decent step. I'm used to say $40,000 like it's a drop in the bucket. It is a lot of money, but when you compare to other race cars, they get up into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. When you look at the Sports Car Championship Canada running with TCR class and GT4 class, this is a very affordable entry-level series. And then, of course, you have the Micra Cup cars that are going to be tagged onto the tail of the field here as we get set to roll for a 40-minute time session. We welcome Todd Lewis back to the booth. Kevin King, Alexandre Fortin, Simon Charbonneau, Justin Arsenault, and Sylvain Ouellette. That is your top 5. Andre Lapointe, Daniel Fortin, Valerie Limoges, Eric Chaput. Eric Chaput just came out of a car in the Super Production Challenge Series as the field hits the front straightaway and ready for the green here in the Nissan Sentra Cup. And it looks like Kevin King out just a little bit farther than everybody else. As the green flag waves, we're underway. So King will easily lead it into turn number 1. No surprise there. Fortin managed to find his way down and get in behind in second spot. So I think that was by design. Fortin hung back just a little bit as the green flag waved.
Then you see the Nissan Micra class coming through, just a little bit of a gap between them and the Sentras up in front, but everybody behaving themselves rather nicely on this first lap. Oh, as I hear the tires squeal.
And yellow flag flies as it appears as though we had one. Nope, yellow flags come back in. So whatever it was fairly brief. I think a car started to slide sideways. You heard the tires squeal, but no damage left on the track, which is great news. We stay green, but you can see these cars affected by the undulations on these city streets. I mean, these are roads that are normally used by cars. They close them down here for the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, so it's a unique situation. But you think about how potholes develop, how bumps develop on the streets in your town. It's exactly what they have to deal with here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
Look how even these cars are through the first lap, just coming up towards the completion of it, and just still nose to tail, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, just a very little bit of a gap, but it's just snaking its way through corner number one.
Kevin King, a former champion in this division. Simon Charbonneau is actually your points leader coming into this one. Justin Arsenault, there's that black number 36. He won yesterday's race here in the Nissan Sentra Cup. Kevin King, as we mentioned, a former champion and has had success here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières in the past, visiting Victory Lane. Fortin, the number 32, was third in points coming into this weekend and is always a formidable opponent here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. He's going to try and go on the outside. Now he does manage to cut back down. That's a tough place to do it, though.
A good defensive line by the leader, just not allowing any other room, but a charge from third, fourth, and fifth, and that 32 car is off the pace.
Yeah, well, that's what happens. You lose your momentum when you try to cut back hard underneath, and if there's no issue under the hood, it just might be a momentum issue, and these are very much momentum cars. You need to keep that pace up. You have to be smooth in order to get the best performance out of these Nissan Sentra Cup cars.
And you could see getting offline through corner number 6, and then just it cost a couple of positions, but that 32, I don't know if he's just hasn't been able to get back in line, but that there seems to be some lack of horsepower or something underneath that.
I think you're right. He continues to fall back, so that's more than just a lack of momentum, an attempt at going for the lead, and so we'll keep an eye. But Fortin dropped all the way to 9th at the line that last time across the stripe, so we'll see if the 32 heads for pit lane this time. But your leader continues to be the one of Kevin King, followed by Justin Arsenault, and now Simon Charbonneau. And Charbonneau actually caught the turn 3 tire wall and affected the right front corner of that Nissan Sentra yesterday. Came to a rest down the back straightaway, and that ended his run. But up until that point, he was sort of where he is right now, ready to pounce as he just laid down the fastest lap of the race.
A little bit of difficulty for the Nissan Micra class getting through corner number 3 as well. Everybody seems to have sorted it out. Green flag back out, everybody okay. Back up front, still the one, followed by the 36 of Justin Arsenault. And you're right, just as he was yesterday, Dave, waiting, stalking, looking for an opportunity to pounce, tucked right up underneath, headed into corner number 1. Going to try to squeeze down the inside? No, thinks better of it.
Kevin King just held that line pretty much the middle of the straightaway, so he's not blocking at that point because it's his line. I don't think he moved the steering wheel at all. We'll have another look at what happened in the Nissan Micra Cup class, and there's the contact that sent at least one car into the tire wall and collected 2. Look at the 27 of Sonny LaBelle sneak through and pick up a couple of positions there.
Isn't that the perfect illustration of why so many racers, so many teams, and so many fans will say you don't want to go through the arch side by side?
Even in a car as small as a Nissan Micra Cup, I mean, you look at the size of the wheels and tires on those cars, they are tiny, but it is so difficult to get through that arch, turn 3 of the Duplessis gates, and do it cleanly.
Still the Kevin King, number 1 out in front, followed by Justin Arsenault, Simon Charbonneau, Sylvain Ouellette, and Daniel Fortin in the 95 are your top 5. The 95 back just a little bit, and that 36 looking for a way around that number 1 car, kind of slipping from the inside to the outside, and I believe the phrase is filling the mirrors and trying to distract the leader to pay more attention to what's going on behind him than in front.
And if you're just joining us for the first time this weekend to watch this Nissan Sentra Cup race, there is a guest driver here this weekend, Freddie Hunt, making his first starts behind the wheel of a Nissan Sentra Cup car. Of course, the son of legendary Formula One driver James Hunt, and of course James Hunt, former Formula One world champion as well. So Freddie Hunt coming over because of the significance of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. James Hunt raced against Gilles Villeneuve, went back to Europe and said, you need to give Gilles Villeneuve a trial. So he actually told McLaren, as we got a battle here for second, it looks like Charbonneau will duck to the inside. He has to back out of it, though, and they'll go single file. But there you can see how much you give up when you make an attempt and have to abort that attempt.
You create a little bit of a gap by getting offline, off the optimal racing line, and then it takes you a little time to gather that back up, a little bit of a gap, and perhaps creates an opportunity for your opponent behind you as well. And those first four cars all packed pretty closely together. Kevin King in that number one continues to lead, but he is being stalked closely by the 36 of Justin Arsenault, Simon Charbonneau, Sylvain Boulet, and Daniel Fortin, the top five.
Sylvain Boulet's in that silver number 99. You saw just a glimpse of the nose with the yellow highlights on the mirrors and the nose piece of that Sentra Cup car, but he's having a very good race here today. He hasn't been this far up in the running order all weekend long, but he's found some speed here today. So whatever he's done in the overnight period has worked, and he's definitely a contender because, again, with these four now drivers all so close, you never know what can happen. So you poke your nose out, you get a run, you open up a gap.
Good battle between the 95 of Daniel Fortin and the 220 of Valérie Limoges, who started in 8th and has picked up a couple of spots and looking to make her way into the top 5. She's had some success here at GP3R, previously being on the podium.
As a matter of fact, a winner last year here in the 2021 edition, the pandemic-altered edition of the Grand Prix Trois-Rivières. But they got the races in. Valérie Limoges, as a matter of fact, stood on the podium and then stood on the top step of the podium as the winner in the second race that weekend. But look at Arsenault all over the back. I think he's made some contact too, because you can see some damage to the nose now of that black number 36. Arsenault was so quick yesterday in the short runs. Today it looks like he's figured out his long run program, because that car has gotten faster as long as we've gone green. Now 8 minutes in the books of this 40-minute timed race.
He is really following in the tire tracks of that number one car of Kevin King as they make their way around, just popping out ever so slightly to the left and to the right, just to show himself in the mirrors as they make their way through corner number 3 and onto the long backstretch, heading down, trying to get close enough to create an opportunity to take over the top spot.
Saw a quick shot of one of the Micro Cup cars. That was the 13 of Ricardo Rivi from right here in Trois-Rivières, Quebec. Unfortunately, his race will end a little bit early, marked in 30th. His final classification, 30th overall. Several drivers dropping out early on, but we can tell you the leader in the Micro Cup class is the 875 of Martin Barretz, ahead of Benoit Gagnon in the 20, and then Jean Audet in the 5. Jean Audet with some experience in the Porsche Cup cars, as a matter of fact, in years gone by. So getting back behind the wheel of a familiar Nissan Micro Cup car here today, and standing right now, unofficially, on the bottom step of the podium in 3rd spot in that division, as we continue to watch this battle for 1st overall and 1st in the Sentra Cup class.
What a fight we have between 1st and 2nd, 3rd and 4th, pretty tight battle, and then 5th and 6th as well. Daniel Fortin and Valérie Limoges doing battle as well. You see another look at underneath the hood of that 13 along pit road as we see the leaders and get back on full screen as they make their way through corner number 3. Just 10 minutes into this race. That's the other part, is there's still a half an hour to go, so you've got to manage your car the rest of the distance and also not be too focused on what's happening behind you, because what's in front of you is also important.
Kevin King really pushed it on the exit of turn number 3, almost caught that concrete wall, and that's another thing the drivers have to be careful of. You don't get too complacent, and you don't try and, well, I can push it a little bit further here or there. turn 3, turn 6 are all places that can really bite you hard and really bite you quickly. And that'll shake things up in a hurry. Just even a brush of the wall will affect these cars. But you can see how level the playing field is. I mean, we've been going now for 10 minutes, and these 4 cars are essentially all within striking distance of each other and have been really since the drop of the green.
And now the leaders coming into traffic. You've got Micra side by side, and they're having to navigate their way through up the inside towards corner number 1.
That appears to be the 425 of Max Poirier. Etienne Caron in there as well, as they moved out of the way of the leaders. But look at Justin Arsenault. Swings to the outside. He was thinking of cutting in on turn number 2. You could tell, but he could not make it work. King has been very, very tidy through number 2 and corner 3 as well. And then look what he does to the inside of the yellow line. That's been his line since the drop of the green today. He knows he has to play a defensive game in order to be the overall winner.
There is room. He is not playing, he is playing defensive, but he is not blocking. There is room for the driver behind him to make a move if he wants to attempt the pass. He's also putting his car in a position where a successful pass is very unlikely.
You can have a look. There is Freddie Hunt in the Union Jack car on the top, and he's going to go for a loop in the number 96. So that was potentially avoidable contact there in turn number 3, as Hunt was, I think, battling with the 427 of Nicolas Barrette in through the Duplessis gates. So it looks like Barrette got in there and nosed his way into the door of the 96 of Freddie Hunt, and around he goes. But no harm, no foul. He'll lose track position, but not too much damage to that 96.
But resumes. He had climbed up to about 12th position before falling back after that incident. Freddie Hunt has had an eventful weekend here at GP3R, but also showing some absolute skills out on the track as well, especially in a car that he's never driven before.
Remember when we just had a 2? Oh, that's Sonny LaBelle in the number 27 in turn number 6, hard into the tire wall. And there's liquid coming out of the front of that car. So obviously the radiator has been damaged. It's just a local caution right now. Simon Charbonneau is... What has happened with that 88 car? It looks like he backed off a lot and lost positions. He was up battling with the 36 of Justin Arsenault. And now the 88 is well back of that group. As a matter of fact, Justin Arsenault is back as well, as everybody didn't know what was happening in turn number 6.
It's check up and make sure that you don't get involved in whatever calamity is ahead with Sonny Solel. That is an interesting situation. Boy, it's really strung things out. Did she just get into? Yes, just got into the corner a little too deep, couldn't make the turn, and backed out, but left a little body work behind.
Yeah, and there you can see the crumpled front end of the Nissan Micra Cup as LaBelle will find her way to pit lane. And you can see the water spilling out right underneath the right front tire of that Micra Cup car. So that, oh, and we've got a big problem. And who is that? It's a white car. Is that Kevin King? That's a big hit, though, for whoever was involved. We don't know who that was. The shot obviously not showing us the number side. We're hoping the officials will give us another look at it. Again, the hood is right up. And look at the damage to the front of that car. We can't even tell you where on the racetrack that is. But it looks like concrete wall damage, or at least Armco damage. And one of the drivers is that Nicolas Miron in the 191. So one of the white cars, of course, Kevin King, your race leader, another one with the predominantly white car. But Miron is falling down the race order now. There you can see the 191. And look at the tire marks left on the racetrack. So somehow he's managed to get crossed up and made contact with the wall off of turn number 6. So that's the exit of turn number 6, the short chute.
Just following the tire tracks, you wonder if he came through 6, got crossed up, and then found himself drifting to the opposite side of the track.
So one of the Micro Cup cars slowed, and oh, there he is at the top of your screen. So yeah, I was looking at the bottom of the screen with the Micro Cup incident, but up at the top is where that 191 made hard contact with the outside wall. Well, that shakes things up.
Full course caution, a little over 15 minutes into this 40-minute race. Pace car out to gather up the field, and I expect a fairly significant cleanup is going to be necessary to dry up some of that liquid that is out on the track, gather up all those bits and pieces of the bodywork as well. That will need to be cleaned up so that it doesn't cause further issues going forward, but it will set the field up tightly once again with Kevin King, Justin Arsenault, and Simon Charbonneau. Your top three, Sylvain Ouellette and Daniel Fortin, round out the top five.
Good news for Freddie Hunt after going for that spin in turn number 3 where he didn't hit anything. We stayed green. He lost a ton of track position. There you can see the car with the Union Jack on the top. He'll be able to gather that track position back up and tag on to the tail of the line. He'll have to start at the back of the Micro Cup cars, but that should be no problem for a driver in a Sentra Cup car. He's currently marked in 12th overall and 12th in the Sentra Cup class. So he's having himself a decent run. That car is pretty clean other than that one run in turn number 3. But there's a look at the cleanup. The medical team on scene to attend to Nicolas Mignon in the 191. I was watching the 7, Jean-Francois Couture, also made contact in the Micro Cup with the tire wall on the exit of turn number 6. Same place that Marie-Soleil Labelle went in the 27. You can see it's still a little bit of fluid on the racetrack, but outside the racing line there, left from the 27. And I don't think that played a role in this incident here between turns 6 and 7.
But after that hard hit, good to see the driver climbing out and getting into the medical vehicle to go back and get a quick checkup to make sure everything is okay. But that was a significant impact on the guardrail and left a lot of damage to that car and a lot of debris on the track, with flatbed on the way to help clear that vehicle.
You can see the drivers with their windows down. They're trying to get as much air as they can inside those race cars. The hands out to guide the air back towards their bodies. And it looks like Hunt will actually get put up in front of the Nissan Micro Cup cars as well. So that is further good news for the driver of the number 96. But yeah, it's a warm one. It's hot and it's muggy out there. The sun continues to beat down, and there's just not a lot of fresh air. Even there's a wind blowing, but it's blowing hot air at you. So it's like when you open the oven and you feel the hot air blowing at you from that. That's exactly what it feels like. And you can imagine if you're in a race car, you're working hard, all you need is a breath. Just give me some fresh air. And that's what the drivers are pleading for right now.
In a full fire suit with gloves, balaclava, helmet, you'll crack the visor a little bit. And Martin Barrette was actually popping the door of his Nissan Micra open just a little bit to try to get a little extra circulation. You'll see the drivers stick a hand out the window to help direct air in, and that does make a significant difference to get some air inside that car and help cool them off just a little bit for this extended full course caution while the cleanup continues for the 191 of Nicolas Morin. But the crews are on site to clear up that car and then put some speedy dry down to sop up that liquid as well.
Have another look at what happened. There's the white car, the 191, and we did go 3 wide, and that's why it happened on a straightaway. Contact with another driver, and that is a significant hit. Kudos to the producers and the camera crew for catching that one and giving us that zoomed in replay, obviously digitally enhanced so we could bring it a little bit closer to you. I didn't see who the other Sentra Cup driver was with the red back end. Could be this one that's coming through right there. No, that's Fortin. But yeah, we don't have confirmation on who is the other driver involved in that incident, but we do know this one was Nicolas Morin in the 191.
That's the reason for the curious skid marks along the track, and you wonder how the driver gets to that part of the track to be up against the guardrail with front nose damage. Well, when you clip the front of another car and it turns you directly into the wall, that's why the skid marks look the way they do. That's why the hood popped up. That's why you have the damage to the front of that car.
And we've seen that a couple of times already this weekend here in the Nissan Sentra Cup, mostly with the Micro Cup drivers, is there's just sort of a blind spot problem on the car. The drivers can't see or don't hear the drivers around them. Maybe the echoes off the concrete walls. I don't know. But there has been a number of drivers come together because you don't realize that there's another car there. For the Micro Cup class, we had one car up in turn number 6 who was diving in a little bit hard under braking, and the other car just essentially turned into him and spun him into the backstretch wall. But there have been some heavily damaged both Sentras and Micros over the course of the weekend, and it's one of the challenges of running on a street circuit as tight as the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
And when you're racing like-make cars, you're in traffic all the time. You are so closely confined in these concrete walls, it makes it a real challenge to maneuver your way through. Just to find a little bit of space, just getting a little bit offline, sometimes it initiates a bit of contact, sometimes it creates a much bigger problem.
And the thing is, too, is that everybody has the same amount of horsepower, so you don't really want to flinch, because if you flinch, it's now going to take you 2 laps to maybe gain that ground back. If you let up and think that there's going to be a problem and it doesn't actually materialize, then you're kicking yourself, because you're like, why did I do that? If I just kept in it, then we could be right there.
Momentum cars, if you get off the gas, and that's why everyone wants to keep their foot into it, just to maintain that momentum, maintain your position out on track. And we continued the cleanup from this full course caution after that incident involving the 191 of Nicolas Morin. He is out and on his way for a checkup. Kevin King leading the field in the number 1, followed by the 36 of Justin Arsenault. The 88 of Simon Charbonneau is running in the 3rd position. Sylvain Roulette in the 99 is 4th, and the 95 of Daniel Fortin is 5th. He was facing a pretty significant challenge from the 220 of Valérie Limoges just before we went to this full course caution period. That battle will resume with the field bunched up once we get back to green racing. André Lapointe, Eric Chaput, Norman Boyer, and Nicolas Barrette round out the top 10.
And there's still plenty of racing to come in this event. 17.5 minutes left to be completed here in the Nissan Sentra Cup, and a lot of racing left here on Sunday at the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. Of course, the next cars on track will be the NASCAR Pinty Series. The fans have been filing in. You can see them anxiously awaiting the headline show here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières, the NASCAR Pinty Series, and their 60-lap race coming up. Yeah, you might have to go shirt off at some point today, because it is hot out there. We can...
We will attest to that, and sunscreen definitely mandatory as well. I just came from the...
Especially if your shirt's off, by the way.
Yes, very good point. Just came from the drivers' meeting for the NASCAR Pinty Series, 60 laps, and the race procedures are an interesting one. There is a mandatory fuel stop. It must occur before lap 50 of the race. It is your decision how much fuel you put in the car. When you stop, must be before lap 50. Again, your decision, and you decide how much fuel you put in your car. Obviously, if you stop later, you don't need as much fuel to get to the end. Tire stop is optional, but it cannot be performed at the same time as a fuel stop. So if you are going to stop for tires, you will still have to make a fuel stop, or vice versa. If you made your fuel stop and then decide tires, that is okay, but you cannot fuel again. Those are the race procedures for today's event.
That's interesting. We get a caution period for that one, and we'll flesh that out a little bit more as the pace car has pulled in here for the Nissan Sentra Cup. Kevin King, Arsenault, and Charbonneau. Charbonneau, as a matter of fact, has laid down the fastest lap of the race in that number 88. So does he have something now that he has closed up on the back bumper of Justin Arsenault? We'll find out. There's 15.5 minutes left to be completed in this 40-minute timed race for the Nissan Sentra Cup, and we're back underway as the green flag waves here on the front straightaway. Oh, we got contact in a car in the wall. Couple of them deep in the pack. That is the 95 making contact with the 220 of Valérie Limoges. She just got run out of room.
both of those drivers will lose positions. Daniel Fortin was running 5th. Valerie Limoges has fallen back. Looked like Freddie Hunt was one to take advantage and jump up a couple of spots there in the 96.
Yeah, he was in the right place at the right time. He actually went right when the big issue was happening on the left-hand side. And look at this battle for the lead. What happened to Arsenault in the 36? He's fallen back considerably. The number 99 of Sylvain Ouellette is now the one who is giving chase. The 88 is off the radar as well. Where did Charbonneau go? There he is, just coming into your screen, but look at how far back he is, battling with Freddie Hunt.
A lot of action right off that restart. They fanned out 3 and 4 wide. I'm not sure that they want to be 3 wide coming out of 6 and going towards 7 as they are right now, but the field seems to be finding their way through. The number 1 of Kevin King continues to lead, but now it is the 99 of Sylvain Ouellette who is in pursuit of that number 1 position.
And he started in 4th, or restarted in 4th, so that car is pretty quick here today, so don't count him out just yet as you see the green flag as we complete 1 lap. Eric Chaput, who restarted in 7th, gains 4 spots. He'll cross the line in 3rd. Andre Lapointe, Nicolas Barrette in the 427. Then it's Charbonneau, Chaput, Freddie Hunt now up to 8th, Daniel Fortin, Valerie Limoges. That is your top 10, but what a scramble on that restart.
What a shakeup indeed. The battle remains up at the front. The number 1 of Kevin King continues to lead, but now it is a new challenger that is in pursuit, and a little bit of a gap back to the 3rd place car, the 116 of Eric Chaput. Andre Lapointe, Nicolas Barrette in the 427 are 4th and 5th, but the battle at front, a different participant in pursuit in the 99, but it is still a close gap, and Kevin King continues to maintain that lead.
And I say the 99 has been pretty quick, because if you look at the best times laid down so far, and we got more problems, and once again it's Daniel Fortin in the 95 who's in the mix, to Frederic Chaput in the 63 in the Millette-backed entry, also into the tire wall. That is in turn number 6. And there's parts and pieces scattered all over this racetrack. Now it's a full course caution, as the yellow flag thrown once again, and they say cautions breed cautions, and wow, did this one ever breed action all over the place. So that's a little bit deeper in the field. That's significant contact with what appears to be the 96.
That is Freddie Hunt. And then this is another incident a little further up between the 63 of Frederic Chaput and the 95 of Daniel Fortin. So that's an awful lot of activity on 1 lap. And you can understand the issues with 2 cars wide trying to go through the Duplessis arch, and it didn't end well for Freddie Hunt once again.
No, I don't think it was the 96 of Freddie Hunt, as he still is in 7th position. That other car spun around and hit the inside retaining wall. So I'm seeing Martin Barrette has fallen down the order in the Nissan Micra Cup. Justin Arsenault as well. That was a driver who restarted in 2nd position. It's the 08. That was the driver involved in that incident. The 8 car is Vincent Beauchesne, and really just trying to get through the Duplessis gates, and made contact with the 23, one of the Micra Cup cars. That's Samuel Rowe, and Rowe inside the top 5 in the Micra Cups. But man, the Micra Cups are actually rising to the top. Jean-Michel Isabelle is in 10th and leads the Micra Cup class. Fred Bernier, Benoit Gagnon, that's the top 3 now in the Micra Cup. There's only 9 Sentra Cup cars essentially at the front of the field. There's a couple still in the mix, but 2 of them are sitting there deep in the tire wall in turn number 6.
This cleanup also is going to take a little bit of time to try to pull those cars out, and then of course reposition the tires in behind that barrier to make sure that they are there if needed to absorb another impact. But those 2 cars seem to almost lock door handles as they went through corner number 6, and then just carried themselves right into the tire wall. There was no slowing down and stopping until the impact occurred.
And we can tell you that caution laps do count, so as those drivers sit there in the tire wall, they will go laps down to your race leader as they continue to pass through. 10 minutes to go now in this 40-minute timed race, and the cleanup crew is on scene. The medical team is on scene, I should say. The cleanup crew is yet to arrive. So the clock is ticking as they have two different scenes to clean up. One was in turn 3, but those cars able to continue to move on their own. And this one in turn 6 has a couple cars stuffed in the wall. It looks like they should be able to continue once they get backed out of the tire wall.
It seems as though they might be lodged in there and just unable to back out themselves, and hopefully that's the case. With a little assistance, you can get them loosened up and unhooked, and then maybe get those cars moving quickly and then finish this cleanup.
After what was a couple, or at least one really clean race yesterday in qualifying session, everybody minding their P's and Q's. It looks like the temperature may have reached the driver's compartment here today, and the final race of the weekend for the Nissan Sentra Cup, as there's been a slew of incidents over the course of this race. And right now several drivers are sitting on the infield watching the completion of this one, and look at some of the banged up cars as they work their way through. If you leave the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières without a mark on your race car, you've done something right.
Yeah, it's close confines and very difficult to get through completely unscathed without at least a bump, a scrape, a scratch, and hopefully nothing too serious. But a great crowd continues to come in here to the grounds at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. The grandstands will be filling up. Folks are flowing in, getting set for more racing action this afternoon with the NASCAR Pinty Series. Of course, still hopefully some more racing left in this Nissan Sentra Cup, with the Sentra Cup and Micro Cup cars out on track. But it has been action-packed with contact through the middle portion of the race. We went green for a good stretch right at the start and plenty of activity, but everybody seemed to sort themselves out. But now we've had a couple of quick, long, full-course cautions here in the middle, but hopefully the cleanup will continue and we'll get back to at least a short dash towards the finish line.
As you can see, the crowd eagerly awaiting what will happen in this Nissan Sentra Cup. Still just under 8 minutes to go, and you can see the toe strap hooked up to the 63 of Frédéric Chaput, so he does have a little bit more damage than we thought, as it's stuffed in pretty hard. So yeah, the front end of that car is pretty beat up, and you can see, yeah, you're right. Those two cars were definitely hung up together. The 95 of Fortin, the 63 of Chaput, and another line hooked up to the 95 cars. They're going to get the 63 turned. I don't know if he can drive off because it looks like that wheel, and it'll be a red flag. There's too many cleanup vehicles in turn number 6. So we're going to stop the vehicles on track for the safety of the cleanup crews in turn number 6. Hopefully get that cleared away and get us back to racing. But the time does continue to tick down, just simply because we have other events coming up on the schedule and they can't be bumped back at all.
No, and this actually is, while it's disappointing that you have to red flag the session, it's actually good for the safety workers and the cleanup crew, is that they don't have to worry about cars circulating around the track every minute or two. They can just go about their business and hopefully extricate these cars very quickly and then get them moved out of the way so that we can get at least a little bit of a finish to this race under green flag conditions. But right now, with so many safety vehicles out on course and so many course workers needed to try to remove those vehicles from the tire barriers and get them hooked up and helped out of the way, then of course reposition the tires and get them back in place for their safety measures that are necessary to continue racing action. So the good news is they got one car out.
Yeah, angling the safety vehicles as well. Look at Justin Arsenault in the number 36. He's trying to get as many. He's got all the windows down on that race car. Normally you have the number panel on the back window, but Arsenault is just trying to get some air in there, trying to get some air himself as he's unbuckled and jumped out of that race car to grab a breath of fresh air. But Arsenault, who restarted in second, had something go amiss on the 36. He fell all the way down the running order to 20th, but he's still on the lead lap, so there's still hope for that driver if we do go back green.
Remarkable, remarkable. So the field sits stopped on the backstretch prior to that incident in corner number 6, where we had the two cars go into the tire wall, the 63 Frédéric Chaput and Daniel Fortin in the number 95. Both are to be extricated from there, get the tires repositioned, and then get them back out, and then hopefully a quick cleanup. Still about 5 minutes remaining in this session, and hopefully.
There it is.
Yes, here's another look at it. That was a rather bold move by the 95 trying to go up the inside. Don't know whether that was perhaps aided by some braking difficulty and unable to slow down.
You might be right. And we haven't talked about that in the brake fade. Other series have noticed that here at Grand Prix Trois-Rivières is that this is a track that is very, very difficult on braking systems, and especially on a day like today where you have a breeze, but it's a warm breeze, and it's not really helping. And you have the two walls on either side. LP Dumoulin once told me, he's like, that is the big problem with this place. And he loves this place. Don't get me wrong, it's his hometown track. But he says it's so hot and the walls block the air from coming across the front of your car and helping to cool the brakes as well. So, yeah, you might be right. The Fortin car may have not had brakes at all, because that was ambitious to say the least to try and make a pass in there. And he tried to get to the inside as much as humanly possible. As a matter of fact, making contact with the inside wall at some point before collecting chapeau and ending up in the tire wall. So that you might be accurate in saying there might have been some brake fade at the very least.
And carried both of those cars into the tires. They both now been pulled away, and one of the cars has been removed, so the rest of the field is beginning to roll once again to get them through this incident through corner number 6. And now the workers out on course are trying to complete the cleanup and get those tires repositioned, and another flatbed is in place to get the second car out of here.
And the problem too is the angle at which they enter that tire wall. You see the flatbeds can't really get there far enough and deep enough, so looks like the field coming down pit lane, and this one is going to be called official. So time will run out before that cleanup will be able to be completed in turn number 6. So Kevin King gets to breathe a little bit of a sigh of relief and not have to face yet another restart. So thumbs up from the track safety crews as the Nissan Sentra Cup cars come along pit lane. And we will see Kevin King on the top step of the podium. So King, Ouellette, and Chapeau, your top 3 in the Nissan Sentra Cup. Jean-Michel Isabelle, Fred Bernier, and Benoit Gagnon, the top 3 in the Micra Cup class, as they'll just come along here and park on the pit straight and let time elapse. There's still a couple of minutes officially to go before the checkered flag will wave. But I believe this one is going to be called official at this point. Yeah, Kevin King's going to hop out, so this one's going to be done right now. So a big congratulations to Kevin King, the winner here in the Sentra Cup, an eventful Sentra Cup race to finish off their track time here at the 52nd running of the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières.
Eventful, yes, but unfortunate that we didn't get to have a green flag conclusion to this race, because when we did have green flag action, there was plenty of good hard racing between both the Nissan Sentra Cup and the Micra Cup competitors throughout this field. And there you see it now official. Checkered flag is waved. The session is over.
So King, Ouellette, Chapeau, as we mentioned, the top 3. Nicolas Barrette and Simon Charbonneau, Andre Lapointe. Freddie Hunt coming home inside the top 10 in the 96. Valerie Limoges, of course, had her issues on the front straightaway, but a big hug from his family and crew. Kevin King, the winner once again here at the Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. And we will allow him to get to victory lane. Big hugs from the top 3 finishers, as a matter of fact. Sylvain Ouellette has to be tickled pink with the second place finish in the 99. Eric Chapeau, you saw him hugging his crew after he comes home 3rd. And there is your top 10 finishers, and Jean-Michel Isabelle first in the Micra Cup, coming home 10th overall. So Freddie Hunt 7th in the 96 after getting spun in turn number 3. So he really used that last restart to his advantage.
Was down at the back of the pack of that Nissan Sentra Cup field, but then we saw cars spreading out and fanning out a couple of tangles together, and he was able to move up the inside and take advantage.
Moment of anticipation as the cars come to the green flag as we take a look at some of the highlights from today's event here in the Nissan Sentra Cup. Fortin was one of the early pursuers of Kevin King as King rolled off on pole, and then it was Justin Arsenault as Fortin made a mistake, lost some momentum, and then actually fell way back into the field in the number 32, but we had bumps and bruises along the way in the Micra Cup class. And more to come later in the Centre Cup, but it was so close for so long between Justin Arsenault. And there is the issue between Barrett and the 96 of Freddie Hunt. Hunt kept the engine running, jammed the clutch, and kept going, but he lost so much track position. There was Marie-Soleil Labelle in turn number 6. This still wasn't a full course caution. So we stayed green through all of those issues. There is Labelle out of the car. You saw the pieces, and look at the top of your screen. 3 wide, and that's how it ended.
That was a big hit. Fortunate to see Nicolas Morin climb out of that car, though, after that big hit and the lengthy cleanup that was needed before removing that vehicle. And then once we restarted again, action to the right, opportunity up the middle. That's when Freddie Hunt gained a bunch of spots.
Yeah, that's the 95 of Forte, made contact with the 220 of Valerie Limoges. That's where she lost all her positions. The Micro Cup cars were continuing to bump in turn number 2 as a couple of other drivers got involved. The 08 goes around as well, loses a back bumper, heads for pit lane. But again, that was not the issue that stopped this race. That's the one that did it. The 95 of Forte, the 63 of Barrett, of Frederic Chaput, ending up deep in the tire wall. Badly damaged Nissan Sentra Cup cars. And unfortunately, the clock struck 0 and the checkered flag flies as the cars sat along pit lane. But Kevin King has been announced as your race winner, along with Sylvain Ouellette and Eric Chaput. That's your top 3, and hugs all around. Down in the paddock area as the crew comes out to celebrate with your eventual race winner. He'll head over to the podium to get his trophy and take part in those celebrations. And we will take a quick break. As a matter of fact, the next time you will see cars on track will be the NASCAR Pinty's Series, 2 o'clock start time. So we have a couple of hours now. They're going to get the track prep. There's going to be lots of pre-race ceremony. But we'll be back just before 2 o'clock for the Russo Medal 60 presented by Julia Wines for the NASCAR Pinty's Series. For Todd Lewis, I'm Dave Bradley. Thanks very much for joining us for this coverage of the Nissan Sentra Cup. And again, we'll have a quick lunch break, allow the corner workers a chance to get a bite to eat. We'll get a bite to eat as well, maybe. We'll see. But we'll be back with the NASCAR Pinty's Series here from the Grand Prix of Trois-Rivières on a beautiful race weekend.
Kevin, énormément d'actions derrière toi. Est-ce que tu as été au courant de ça? Mon Dieu, ça s'est passé tellement rapidement aujourd'hui.
Bien, franchement, je suis pas trop au courant de ce qui s'est passé avec la 32 après les 2-3 premiers tours. J'ai vu qu'il était plus dans mes rétroviseurs. Peut-être un bris mécanique, c'est dommage pour lui. Après ça, à relâche, je pense qu'on a eu un bon départ. Puis il y a quelque chose qui s'est passé en arrière, je suis pas trop au courant, mais regarde, c'était bénéfique pour moi. Puis je suis super content pour mes amis Sylvain et Eric. Premier podium pour Sentra, je crois pour eux autres. Fait que c'est super.
Des gens que tu aimerais me remercier pour cette victoire?
Écoute, il y a tellement de gens autour qui sont ici ce week-end. C'est la ville, c'est notre ville. Puis toute l'équipe d'LP Apparel, Ben Magique, Transport du Sceau, Nissan Gabriel et toutes mes équipes, mes mécanos, la famille. C'est grâce à tous eux autres que ça a été possible. Avec 2 podiums ce week-end, on part la tête haute.
Félicitations, Kevin.
Mesdames, Messieurs, nous allons maintenant procéder à la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Coupe Nissan Sentra dans les deux classes, Sentra et Micra. Pour honorer les pilotes de la classe Sentra, d'abord, je réinvite le président de Nissan Canada, M. Steve Millette. En troisième position Sentra, il est de Québec, Éric Chaput. En deuxième place, il est de Louisville, Sylvain Ouellette. Et le gagnant de la classe Sentra, il est de Trois-Rivières, Kevin King. Et nous enchaînons maintenant avec la classe Micra. Non. En troisième place de la classe Micra, animateur à Rouge FM, M. Benoît Gagnon. En deuxième place, il est de Montréal, Frédéric Bernier. Et le gagnant de la classe Micra, Jean-Michel Isabelle. Ceci complète la cérémonie protocolaire de la course Coupe Nissan Sentra. Restez avec nous pour la prochaine activité au programme, soit l'intronisation au temple de la renommée des Amis du Grand Prix de Trois-Rivières. maintenant procéder à l'intronisation de